off. There we go. All right. I don't want to be that instructor who forgets to hit the record button on the whole new series, because that has been known for me to do that. But I also don't want to be that one who records stuff that just isn't relative, because then when people are watching it, they're like going, why am I watching all of this? So, all right. I am super, super excited to be here. If any way possible, I really like screens on, cameras on. I don't care if you're in your pajamas. I don't care if you didn't wash your hair today. I don't care if you don't have makeup on. I just want to see your beautiful faces, because it's so much easier. I get energy from all of you. Okay. And so I bring a lot of energy to the classroom, I think. But I get that off of you guys. So if you could be on screen, I would absolutely love it. So first of all, wow, we are at the end of this week at the halfway point of Ignite. Can you believe that already? Right? And so I know we have covered a ton, but a couple of housekeeping things that I want to make sure we talk about. So on October 6th, let me verify. I gotta have my phone. It's been a crazy morning in my life. Stacy and I were at my house at 7 o'clock this morning, loading up the trucks to take our staging furniture, and she's over staging our new listing that's going to have open houses this weekend. So yes, October 6th, we are not having Ignite. We are moving it to October 7th. The reason for that is all three of the market centers are hosting a summit about profit share, right? And it is so, we believe it is so important that you guys go to this summit and learn about our profit share program. It's the only place in the world that I know of that's basically a 401k when you're self-employed.
No,
So,
just
did you have a question, Ari?
no.
Sorry. Okay. It's the only place you can build almost a 401k and be self-employed, which you all are. Okay. So you should be hearing about things in the market center about this. So please make sure that you come to Old Town or wherever they're having it in Foothills and wherever they're having it in Castle Rock, depending on which market center you're with. Okay, so super important. So October 6th, Ignite is happening October 7th. It'll be the same links. Everything else will be the same. It's just the date. Okay.
Is there a time for the profit share meeting?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Let me verify. I have it from 8 to 3:30. And for those of you that are in Keller Williams Avenues, that's our chili cook-off. Okay, and we usually have a winner for red chili, a winner for green chili, and a winner for white chili. So if you are a chili extraordinaire, please make sure you sign up and let us taste your wonderful chilies. And for those of you that make green chili, it tends to be the hottest one wins. Which I don't like. I prefer a tasty green chili versus a hot, but it's their way. So there is that. For those of you that are in Avenues, on October 11th, Margaret's teaching her business planning clinic. You're going to see a ton of stuff about that. I want you still to come to Ignite. Okay, that is how much I believe this program will make a difference in your careers. So because you're going to be in Ignite or you're a dual career agent, I am also teaching the business planning clinic the 2 Saturdays, the 15th and the 22nd, breaking it in half. So if you're in Ignite on the 11th, not at the business planning clinic where I want you, come to those 2 Saturday sessions on the 15th and the 22nd on Zoom, 9 to 11. If you can't do the Saturday, I'm going to give you one more opportunity to come to the business planning clinic that I am teaching. And I am teaching it in Castle Rock on November 1st. Ignite is over by November 1st. So therefore you would be able to come down there on that Tuesday. So if you're going to be a Castle Rock person, I need to know so I can warn them for their lunch sponsors. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Will you send me an email, because I will never remember after teaching and staging all day that you told me that. Okay. Questions? I wanted to make sure we got all of that out. Sorry, Becky, I don't think a lot of that applied to you, but I know that there's similar stuff going on up in the mountain. Okay. I am so excited. I am beyond excited because we are probably learning today probably one of my favorite subjects to teach. If it's not business planning and goal setting, it's this. So before we lean into this, I would love to hear what one thing you guys took away. So last week after I left, Jody came in, we started talking about lead generation, right? So I would, and so did Tracy on Wednesday. So I would love to hear what some of the takeaways have been that you guys have had. Don't all talk at once. Nothing?
Yeah, I feel like I just feel a little better about like speaking, like felt less nervous maybe.
Yeah.
So I think it can help me out a lot.
Wonderful. Okay. I love that. How many of you are practicing with your script partners or your accountability partner on a regular basis? I know 2 in the room were today because they did it when I got here. Everybody else practicing? Does everybody have an accountability partner? Does anybody need one? Okay. I will tell you, it makes a difference. Right? It will make it easier. And today we're going to do some open house scripts. So we'll do some things. So you talked on Tuesday about generating your leads, right? And then on Wednesday, you talked about growing your database, right? You should have a target in your database of 200, 250, 300 people. That will give you a good, healthy business. Okay. As part of the business planning clinic, we'll figure out exactly how many you need to make your goals. Like, I'm pretty sure I know Alfred needs more than that because he's got some really big, audacious goals, we used to call them. Okay. Some of you, you're like, yeah, no, I'm good. Right. 200. Here's the deal. For every 8 people in your database, you should get 1 piece of business. Right. So if you have 250 people in your business, that's going to get you over 20 transactions a year. How many of you could live a really big life on 20 transactions a year with an average commission of $18,000? Reed?
I think I can.
We're very blessed in Colorado, right? Because of our price points, right? My friends in Iowa, where the average price point is $350,000, they got to do twice the number of transactions I do to make the same amount of money. So that's awesome. So today we're going to talk about probably one of my favorite ways to meet people is open houses. Okay. And I'm going to throw in, they've got a great format here. I love how they've rewritten this. I'm going to throw in some things that I have learned, right? And some people that I've learned from. If open houses are going to be your jam, if you think they're going to be your jam, I want you to write this name down. His name is Chris, C-H-R-I-S. His last name is Suarez, S-U-A-R-E-Z. If you go to YouTube and you search Chris Suarez and you write the word open house behind it, you will find where Chris is teaching the open house system that he used to build his business in Portland. So Chris picked up and moved cross country from New England to Portland, Oregon by himself, and he knew 0 people in Portland. And he built $1 million business. And when I say $1 million business, I mean $1 million of GCI. How many of you would love to host open houses and have a process in place that you could make $1 million bucks? Or even $500,000 bucks? Ari's got her hand up, right? So that's what Chris will teach you. A lot of what Chris teaches is in this material, but I do believe it's always good to hear it from more than one voice, especially when you get to hear it from the voice who taught it, okay, and did it. All right. So, let's see. All right, there we go. All right, next question. So tomorrow you're going to be talking about social media. Okay, I know that that's Mark's favorite subject, right? Mark actually started his social media when we were up in, where were we? We were in Vail, weren't we? Yeah, when we were up in Vail, Mark actually created his first Facebook page, right? So super exciting, right? But tomorrow is going to be all about capturing leads with social media. Do you know why I love social media? I can do it any time of day. Is there somebody else out there? Okay. I just don't like the front door open if that's closed, unless Matt or somebody else is in the building.
Yeah, I think you must be, some girl just came in to me.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. And then on Wednesday, you're going to talk about how to capture more leads, right? So beautiful lead generation. Then next week, we're going to start about how do you keep leads? How do you follow up with leads? How do you strengthen relationships? And then when we get to the following week, we're going to start diving into the fun stuff. Buyer consultations, seller consultations, how to work with buyers and sellers. How do you write offers, negotiating? How do I get to the closing table and how do I plan for my future? So this is all just like one big building block, right? Are you guys feeling that? Like you're getting that foundation and then away we're going to go. So that is where we are headed. So, you know, like I said, today we're going to be covering open houses. We're going to talk about how to capture the open houses. We're going to talk about the best practices of an open house. Some of you have actually had the pleasure of working with me or shadowing me at an open house, preparing, prospecting, pursuing, recaps, and then we're going to go into practice time. So by the end of today, I want you to be able to describe the benefits of holding an open house. I want you to identify the best practices, and I want you to be prepared to do an open house, right? I want you guys so prepared out of this class that you can host one of my open houses this weekend and not need to shadow somebody. That's my goal, okay? So here we go. Nothing else about your business will have as big an impact on it as the number of leads you have. Have you guys seen the triangle? Have you guys seen the Keller-Williams triangle? Okay. No, so take out a piece of paper or just a scratch paper. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And I want you to make a triangle. Okay. So when you have a triangle, you have the flat surface, which I would call the base, right? And then you have two sides that go up to create the point. Okay. Why is the base of the triangle so important? It's the foundation, right? It's the stability of the triangle. If I flip it upside down and I put it on the point, what's going to happen to it? It's going to be wobbly, right? It's going to be all over the place. So if you take that triangle and underneath the bottom one, I want you to write the word leads, L-E-A-D-S. Then on the left-hand side, going up towards the point, I want you to write the word listings. And on the right-hand side of the triangle, I want you to write the word leverage. So if the base of the triangle is the foundation, what is the foundation of your business? Zoomers. I didn't hear you.
Sorry, leads.
Leads, right? If we have no leads, we ain't got a business. Gary says it a little more eloquently than I do, but it's the same thing, right? And then listings. Why are listings so important? Listings are so important because, go ahead.
Because they're probably the most profitable, right? You've got the listing and now you're working to pull in the buyers. So you know you've got at least one half of the commish, right? Or am I not saying that right?
Hold on. Charles is on the line and Charles is telling me that I am not showing this correctly. So hold on a minute. So there's PowerPoint's giving me heartburn, bud. So let's try this. You're lucky I had my phone on, or I'm lucky I had my phone on, but now you can't see it at all. Hold on. We didn't have this problem last time I taught, did we?
I'm not sure.
No, it was showing the screen.
Yeah, it was just showing the regular screen, right? All right, well, let's try this again. Brandon, share my screen, which is how I always do it. And then I'm gonna switch this to this view. Go. What do I
Now-
got, Charles?
Now hit share your screen again. And then just share the screen, the presenter piece or the viewer piece.
So do I need to stop share?
No. Just hit share screen one more time.
A new share? So my options are new share. It says you are screen sharing or stop share.
Yeah, hit new share.
Oh, I see. Somehow my computer has gotten set up where I got a dual screen. Does that look
Yeah.
better now?
Yep, that's right.
Woo! Thank you, Charles.
You're welcome. Class well, all class well.
It is long, brother. She goes till 1 p.m.
All right. So where were we?
Yeah.
Why are you starting now? You're just gonna sit in it for hours?
Let's see.
Okay, so leads, listings. Why are listings important? Listings are important because of many reasons. One, you manage the market. You create the market when you have listings. Second of all, listings are typically more efficient. When you have a listing, the rule is that it's the one twofer that we have in real estate. So typically when you have a listing, you're going to get at least one additional piece of business from it, either from a sign call, from the seller buying a house, all of that, and whose sign is in front of the house. For yours, right? It's a great piece of advertising. As Sue Venzel used to say, when you're out with buyers, do you have flashing lights on your car that says Robert is out showing buyers today? Nope. But when your sign's in front of a listing, everybody that drives by that house sees your name. Okay, so listings are strong. In averages, takes half the amount of time to sell a listing as it does to get a buyer to the closing table. And then leverage. This is how can you leverage your time? You only have so many hours in a day. We want you to build a big business and have a big life by design. So how do we institute leverage into your business? Well, leverage comes in many different fashions. Leverage can be using the smart plans in command, right? Putting things on automatic pilot, building a system. We're going to talk about a system in open houses, because once you conquer this system in open houses will become very easy for you. Okay. Leverage can also be people, right? Maybe you have a transaction coordinator. Maybe you have a lender that you partner with marketing on. Maybe you use land title to create some of your marketing pieces in addition to what's in command, right? So those are some examples of leverage. That doesn't mean you just go out and hire a staff of 20 people. Okay, there's simple ways, even as a newer agent, once you get some business going, we can build some leverages into your business. Okay, so but leads is what's most important. Okay, so now I got to figure out how to get this part to work. Okay, so we talked on my very first day that I taught you guys, we talked about limiting beliefs, right? We talked about how sometimes our minds can stop us from moving forward. And I had to tell you, some of you, I have been watching you the last 2 weeks and you have pushed yourselves out of your comfort zones, right? You've been dialing, you've been doing script practice. Some of you have been door knocking. Some of you, you're getting outside your comfort zone. I cannot be more proud of you because you're not letting limiting beliefs stop you. Okay. Here's some limiting beliefs that we could have as a newer agent about open houses. This could be stopping you from responding to my voicemail, text messages, emails, and Facebook posts that I have an open house this weekend. Okay. So one of them could be, I don't have a listing to hold open. Okay. Okay, so you don't have a listing to hold open. What might you do to find one? What could you do?
Get up.
Go ahead, Taylor.
Sorry, I don't know why this video isn't working, but just as long as you guys can hear me. I called and introduced myself to agents in our office that I could see, you can see in like RE Colorado, our office specific and who had listings. And I just called them, introduced myself and told them if they ever need someone to hold an open house that they could always reach out to me. And I got a lot of open house listings that way and met people through our office.
Wonderful. So reach out to people who have listings. Okay. That's a great one. Okay.
Another thing
Right.
I do is like post on the office Facebook page, like, hi, I'm like Taylor said, like, hi, I'm Taylor Trump. I am also like at the KW's or Avenues office and like was wondering if there are any open houses this weekend, or even too, I've seen people post on the Facebook page and say, I'm having an open house this weekend. Please message, text me, call me if you'd like to help.
Yep. Exactly. Taylor Trump, I have a bunch this weekend if you would like one.
Okay, yeah, let me check my calendar and I'll get back with you on that.
Perfect. Yep. Okay. So great. So that's one way, right? Making sure that you're following the coaching page, right? And responding, right? How about this one? I don't have signs yet. You don't have signs yet. They're not cheap. What could you do?
Check them out from the office.
See if the office has them. Okay, that's a good one. What else could you do? What about the listing agent you're hosting the open house for? Right? I don't know if Charles is still on here, but I bet if I asked him and I said, hey, Charles, do you have open house signs? He would probably say, yes. As the listing agent, yes, I have open house signs. Most of us do. Right? So if you're hosting an open house for a listing agent, maybe they want you to use their signs so that their brand is everywhere. Now, what I would tell you is, as you have closings, hold back a little bit of money and go invest in some open house signs. Hold back a little more money from your next closing and go invest in open house signs, right? Because then whose name is on them? Yours. And if your signs are on the open house signs, it doesn't matter whose name is on the for sale sign. Okay. All right. The next one. I may not know the answers to questions visitors have. What can you do to get over that one?
Research.
Research. What kind of research, Chris?
Pull up the house that you're going to be holding it open for and just take a look through everything on there. Talk to the listing agent.
Yeah. That's we're going to go dive deep into that a little bit here a little bit later, but absolutely just do a little bit of homework. Do a little bit of homework, right?
It's also
How about this one? Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's also like a great way to get back in touch with open house attendees. I had a lady ask kind of just fencing rules because they had a dog and it was open. So I just gave her a call on Monday with that information. And it's another great reason to give them a call after an open house with some more information.
I love that, right? An open house person asks a question you didn't know the answer to. Well, does that mean that you're a failure? No, that's actually an opportunity, right? As Taylor said, it's an opportunity to go get that information and call them back, right? Because now they're more likely to pick it up if they're truly interested in that house or that neighborhood, and you call them back with that information, they're more likely to pick up the phone, true? Okay. I love this one. Open houses don't really work because everybody looks at them online. What do you think?
So I had on a fix and flip I had a different agent that was representing me before I was licensed, and she said exactly that. And my counter at the time would have been, and still is, well, I mean, every little bit helps. I mean, first of all, we're talking about getting leads for ourselves, but just, I don't know, it just feels better to me if you have more events and more open houses at your house that you're selling.
I love that story. Thank you, Brandon. So it's true. People can look online, right? But however, I shouldn't have used that word, right? And anything we do creates energy, right? And when we create energy around things, good things happen, right? We create energy, we put out a bunch of signs, and we're going to talk about signing strategies, and we put out some marketing about our open houses. People do come, right? Because if they didn't come, would we really have all the open houses that are out there? Have you guys been driving around on the weekends lately? There are so many more open house signs out than there has been in the last couple of years. Because they create energy, they create activity. Are there times when you have an open house and nobody shows up? Yes, but it's very rare that you get completely skunked. People see the signs, and if you set the signs correctly, people are like, oh, I wasn't looking for an open house, but let's go see. And they make a turn. Okay. The other myth is open houses don't sell the house that you're holding open. You notice I called it a myth because I've done it. I've been the listing agent, and the person who hosted the open house with me got the buyer from the open house. Charles, who was on the phone, I don't know if he's still here, was a master at picking up buyers and sellers at open houses. And we joked one time when he was coaching with me many years ago, we joked that by working one open house, he paid his coaching fee for the entire year. Had he not worked that open house, he wouldn't have gotten that business, which led to more business and more business and more business and more business. Okay, so they do work. They absolutely do. I won't feel safe. With some options on that. We're going to dive into it a little bit later, but
Do open houses together.
exactly, right? Have a partner. I think that is the best one. And find a buddy, right? Like you guys have got accountability partners here in this program, right? What if the two of you went and worked on open house together? Right? I know that's how my business started. I worked open houses with several different people, and I clicked with one particular individual, and we got so good at doing open houses that we knew two things would happen. When we would go set signs, we could read each other's mind and know who was going to do what and where we were going to place signs. And when we're talking to people, because sometimes there might only be one couple in, and so we're both kind of engaging with them, it's almost like we finish each other's sentences. And it's a great way to do that, right? You want to hang out with somebody you like and somebody that you work well with. So work with different people, right? It absolutely makes a difference. And you know how to help each other, right? One of the things that we did is, we would script and role play while we were there. And that would make a big difference. Oops, I went too far. Sorry. So my next question is, should every house be held open? Probably not. Not every house, right? So what would be some circumstances that we wouldn't hold one? Well, this one is probably the funniest one. The sellers specifically said no open houses. Okay, the seller says no, we probably shouldn't host an open house, right? Some sellers don't want to declutter, clean up, sanitize so that the house shows well. Okay, if you have a property that's not going to show well in general, I don't know that I'd hold it open, right? We had a listing not long ago that was a hoarder house. We just put it online, showed it for what it was, let the investors come and bid it up, but we did not host an open house in there. It's not the right environment. Okay. It's difficult in like this extreme market that we were just coming out of, when you would put the house on the market and you have 10 offers and 3 hours later. That didn't make sense, right? And then the last one, during the COVID, we kind of had to cool it on that too. Okay, questions, thoughts? All right, here we go. So what are we going to capture? How do we capture these leads? So if we go to our participant guide, there are typically two main goals for open houses. It's to sell houses and generate leads. So my question to you is, who does the open house benefit? And I believe that the open house benefits all 4 of the people that you see on this slide. It benefits the sellers. It creates energy around their property, right? If we do the open house well and we market it well, we're going to bring people to the house that may not have seen it. I can't tell you how many people in my life I know have bought a house when they really weren't looking for a house. Has anybody else done that? You didn't know you were looking for a house and then you found one and you had to buy it? Not yet? Okay. Sellers, it allows the house to be seen by more buyers. All at one time, super high exposure, super high energy around the property. For buyers, it allows them to see the house without an obligation, which means they can go see it without being pre-approved. They can go see it without having to do a lot of research. They can actually go see it without hiring an agent or talking to an agent that's going to represent them because they're not that ready. They just want to go snooping. By the way, those are the buyers we want when we're there. Okay. The neighbors, it benefits the neighbors. They get to see how their house compares to the house that's listed in both price and condition, and it gives them a better idea of what their own home is worth and what they may want to do or need to do in the event that they were to want to sell it. Okay. And then the last one, you as the agent hosting that open house benefit. How? Well, you get to capture the leads of potential buyers, potential sellers, and future buyers and sellers. You're going to get to connect with the neighborhood prior to the event. You're going to, once you have them, place signs in the neighborhood with your name on them. My good friend Dave Humphreys says, you want to take over a neighborhood? Go work an open house in that neighborhood every weekend, regardless of who the listing agent is. Because on Saturday, when the people come home from the kids' soccer game or the grocery store, whose signs are all over the neighborhood? Me, the listing agent, or you, the open house host? And then the next weekend, you go host Charles's listing that's in the same neighborhood, but whose signs do they see? Yours. They don't care about Charles. Okay. They allow you to practice conversations. They allow you to answer questions, and you get to provide value to people. There's one more place in here that I believe an open house benefits you, the agent, even if you have 0 people show up. And you're all going to go, what? How's that happen? If you market your open house on social media, what are you telling your Facebook and Instagram friends? I'm in the biz. I'm working. Right? You say, hey, I'm hosting an open house at 123 Beach Street today. Come see me. It's got an awesome view of the mountains. What did your friends just hear? Wow, Becky's doing well in real estate. They didn't call her up and ask and say, did you list that house? They're just saying she's busy in real estate. 2 weeks later, she's hosting another open house and it's down the street on Main Street. Wow, good for Becky. Look at her go. Right? So you get that social media activity to send out to your sphere and your Facebook friends that you're busy. Right? If you pay for ads through Facebook, you get to hit neighbors, people in the area, right? You can get some additional marketing and exposure even if 0 people show up at your open house, if you plan it right. And that's the key. And we're going to lean that today. Okay. So what I love about an open house, it's prospecting based and marketing enhanced. Have we talked about prospecting based and marketing enhanced? Does that make sense? Do you guys know what that means? No? Okay. So when you're prospecting, you're proactive. Prospecting, proactive, right? You typically prospect when you have more time. And right now, do you have more time or more money?
Time.
time, right? So examples of being prospecting is open houses and door knocking and reaching out, right? Social media activity, all of those things are prospecting activities. Circle prospecting, expireds, for sale by owners, prospecting activities. Okay. Marketing is I'm going to drop postcards to my farm once a month. That costs money. See the difference? So the beauty of an open house is it's more time. It's you going out and being proactive, and you might throw a little bit of marketing dollars at it, but not heavy. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So, oops, I got myself turned around here. The benefits. Okay. So the benefits of an open house.
Can we go to the comment that Alfred made in the channel or in the chat for just a second?
Yes, thank you, because I don't watch the chat.
And you've said it as well. But I've heard different takes on if we can reach out to agents outside of KW.
We can.
Okay.
Right? That looks a little different. I would typically start in our office. So here would be my hit list if I'm going to reach out. Okay. I'd start in our office. Then I'd start in other Keller Williams offices. And then I would go to non-Keller Williams. Okay. Because there is some E&O kind of stuff that gets a little crazy. But yes, you absolutely can.
Okay.
So when I was talking about farming a neighborhood and getting your name known in a particular neighborhood. So let's pretend that you wanted to take over, I don't know, give me a neighborhood name. Spring Mesa. We'll pick on Spring Mesa. There's not enough realtors out there, right? So you want to take over Spring Mesa, okay? But you don't have a listing there. Well, I'm going to go look every week to see who does. And if there's somebody in our office that has a listing, that's going to be the first person I'm going to call, right? Hey, Jim Carroll, I saw you have a listing in Spring Mesa. I would love to host an open house out there. Would that be something that your seller and yourself would find valuable? And he'd call and check with his seller and they'd say yes. And then you go prop your open house signs all over Spring Mesa. So then the next weekend you see that no one in our office has one in Spring Mesa, but you see that maybe an agent from downtown, from Foothills. Let's pretend it's a Foothills office, right? Somebody from Foothills came down the hill and got a listing in Spring Mesa. You might call that agent and say, you introduce yourself. I'm with Keller Williams in Arvada. I was wondering if your seller and yourself would like to have an open house held at their property in Spring Mesa. Some will say yes and some will say no. Okay, did that answer your question? Perfecto. All right. Oh, now I got another chat. Yep, they can be. Yep, some of them absolutely, right? The good news is, Alfred, agents are typically friendly. Depends on how you approach them. Right? So I love that. Okay, so benefits of open houses. Okay, the first one is they are super inexpensive to do. Right? You could actually yourselves do an open house and spend zero money. Right? You can borrow signs from your office or the listing agent. So you don't need that. You can advertise it on social media just on your page. It costs you nothing. You can go door knocking and invite the neighbors, and that costs you nothing unless you print a little flyer. Those are going to be super cheap to print at the office. Okay, so you can do an open house for very little money. Some agents love to put out the big charcuterie boards and the snacks and the water bottles, but you don't have to. You just need to be there and be kind and open the door. So it's inexpensive. Okay, number two, it is a fantastic prospecting tool. And the best part is it puts you in front of people who are expressing an interest in buying and or selling a home. Okay, it's fantastic for that. It has a high return on investment. Well, of course it does, because your investment can be very small. And if you do an open house well, your return can be super high. Right? Remember I said Charles could pay his entire office bill and his coaching fee from one open house? That's a pretty good return. Okay. And you're getting qualified leads, right? They're qualified because you get to be face to face with them and build a meaningful relationship with them. So let me ask you this. What type of leads do you believe you're most likely to get from open houses? Anybody?
At least they're looking for homes.
Right. So what kind of a lead are they? If they're looking for a house, what kind of lead are they? Probably a buyer lead. You're probably going to find more buyers at open houses. However, what I'm going to teach you today will help you generate seller leads. And how it generates seller leads is the neighbors are watching you. They are watching what you do. They are watching the activity that you do. And they're paying attention, even if they never walk into the door of your open house. Okay. All right. What so far has been your aha for today? Anybody?
That we can do open houses for other firms.
Okay. All right.
Most of mine down here are not with Keller yet, but they will be.
But they will be. Exactly. What else?
I was just gonna say, once you do a couple of open houses, pair up with like a lender. This last weekend I did one with a lender and an insurance agent, and then that's instead of splitting all of the leads that come through. And I know open houses sometimes aren't super hectic these days, but you get double the amount if you're not splitting it with another agent. So get comfortable doing them and then find some other people to bring to them.
I love that, right? We're seeing more opportunities for open houses. So in the coaching program last weekend, I had opportunities I had to turn away because I couldn't find enough of you to work them. There's a high probability that's going to happen again this weekend, and that breaks my heart. So great idea, Taylor, right? Get a lender, right? Take these lenders that you guys are meeting, and even Mitchell, go work an open house, right? You take a lender out with you. Now you have someone who is versed on explaining interest rates, right? What is everybody talking about in the markets right now? Oh my God, interest rates are so high. Has anybody heard that? Well, are you qualified to talk about interest rates? But who is? Your lender. And side note, the lenders are more than happy to pay for the snacks. They'll always ask, what can I bring? Can you bring some bottled water? Can you pick up some donuts? Can you pick up whatever? Yep, they're more than happy to chip in and help you with the costs. Okay, love that. Thank you, Taylor. Anything else? All right, here we go. This computer's not working the way I want it to today. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is we are going to talk about best practices. Okay, so open house best practices. Remember when we did the very first day of Ignite, we talked about the difference moving from E to P. We talked about being entrepreneurial versus purposeful. And the more purposeful we are with what we do, the better our results will be. As an entrepreneur, we bounce all over the place, right? We get sexy, shiny object syndrome. We get squirreled, whatever you want to call it, and we chase different things. But by being purposeful and being laser focused, our results are better. So one of the first things you want to do with an open house is you want to set a goal or goals for the open house. Okay. We want those goals to be achievable. And they may or may not require a lot of work, and that's okay. But if you set attainable and challenging goals, I promise you this, you will maximize your investment, that return on investment. So what kind of goals do you believe could be some that you might set for an open house?
Generate X amount of leads, whether that's 2 or 3 or 5.
Okay, so are you defining a lead as somebody who is actually somebody you're setting an appointment with, or is a lead a contact where you have their information?
A contact or
Okay.
both.
Well, so that's the thing. We want to be very specific with goals, right? When we set goals, we want them to be SMART, right? Which means they're specific, they're measurable, they're actionable, they're reasonable, and they're trackable. Okay. And both of those that Ari said fits into that category, but which one are you chasing? Are you chasing the contacts or are you chasing the stronger lead? How many of you have ever bought a different car than the one you were driving before? Whether it was new or new to you. Has anyone ever bought a different car?
Yes.
Okay, probably most of us. What happens after you take that car off the lot? Well, yes, it depreciates, but what else happens? Don't you see it everywhere?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You see it everywhere.
You absolutely do, right? Like if you went out today and bought a 2022 red Ford pick-em-up truck, an F-150, do you think you'll see a lot more red F-150s? You will, because your brain is naturally looking for those things. Okay. So if you go to an open house and your goal is, I want to walk away with 5 contacts. I want to walk away with 10 contacts. What are you going to get? Contacts. Okay. If you say at the beginning of your open house, I want to have 1 appointment set when I leave this open house, what's going to happen? You have a higher probability of getting the appointment because your subconscious is going to be listening for and asking questions to lead you down the path to get that person to schedule an appointment with you. Okay. I remember the one, I used to go to open houses and I had the contact thing, right? I was going to make a bunch of contacts and I'll follow up with them. And as a new agent, I said I was going to do that. And my follow-up systems were pretty bad. And I was getting tired of working open houses and not being productive with them. So I changed what I was looking for. And I coached that morning. I was a bowling coach at the time. And I drove from bowling to the open house that I was hosting. And I was hosting it in Westwoods. I still remember the house. Lynn Hodges was the listing agent. And so we set up and I told myself, I was giving affirmations to myself all the way from point A to point B, which is about a 20-minute drive. And I said, today I'm going to find someone who is ready to buy a house. Today I am going to find someone who is ready and willing to buy a house. Today I'm going to find someone who's ready, willing, and able to buy a house. I said that for 20 minutes. Guess what happened? This young couple, Justin and Carrie, walked into the open house. We had several people come in. Some of them had agents, some of them were just neighbor looky-loos. And then there was this customer, this couple, Justin and Carrie. And because I had been working on my skills and I was looking for what? Someone who was ready, willing, and able to buy a house. I had an appointment with them on Monday, and Monday night we went and looked at houses. And 2 weeks later, they were under contract. But had I just said, I'm going to get a lot of contacts today, probably what would I have gotten? A lot of contacts. Make sense? It's all about our mindset. Okay. All right. The next one, you're going to pick the house. Okay. Picking the house. Now, in the coaching program, you don't pick, I give them. right? Here's where you're going. I just ask you if you're willing to go to Greeley. Okay, picking the house is a crucial step in the open house process, right? It's important to look for a great location and preferably not one that's more than 3 turns from a major road because gets harder to sign the deeper you get in. Most of the ones in the Denver metro area aren't too bad. I can only imagine what we get to do with up in the foothills, right? Start getting into some of those mountain properties. Okay, you gotta have a lot of signs. Okay, so once you've chosen the house, you want to be familiar with the neighborhood. Okay, so as you're preparing for the open house, you want to know where's the closest shopping center, where's the closest grocery store. Always know the closest coffee shop, always. And the reason for that is if I'm going into that open house saying I'm going to meet somebody who's ready, willing, and able to buy a house today, and I'm going to schedule an appointment with them, what if they want to meet with you immediately after the open house? Where are you going to go? Right? If you're hosting an open house in Thornton or Westminster, getting them all the way down to Old Town Arvada might not make sense. So where's the local Starbucks? Where's the local Ziggy's or whatever it's called, right? What's that new one that's out? Anyway, know where the coffee shops are. And always have some form of technology with you. This isn't in here, but I'm going to tell you that, right? Have your laptop, have an iPad, something more than your phone, because coffee shops have what? Wi-Fi. You can get on the MLS. You can sit and look at properties together with them. Show them what's currently available. Once you get to the point in your career that not every contract has to be reviewed by Margaret, you could write the buyer agency right there in the coffee shop. Okay, always know where your coffee shops are. Okay, know the market, right? When you're picking the house, know the price points. Charles always used to say, you all can go work the $1 million houses, I'll work the $300,000 condos. Why? Wouldn't you want to do $1 million houses? Bigger commission checks.
There are a lot more people looking for $300,000 condos than they're looking for $1 million houses.
Exactly. That's one of them, Brandon. And the other one is oftentimes people that are in those move ups already have agents that they have loyalty with, right? And your buyer pool is less. My favorite one to work, here's my favorite one to work. I like to work the starter homes, not the condos and townhomes. I like to work the $500,000, the $450,000 to $600,000 homes. Why do I like those? They're a move up from the townhome and condos. So most likely they probably started with a townhome or condo that, oh, it's going to need to be sold, which means I get a potential listing. And they're wanting a buyer. They're wanting to buy the house I'm standing in. So remember the twofer? An open house could be more than a twofer, right? Because if I pick up the listing and the buy in that price point of the open house, and then I go host the open house at the listing on the $200,000 condo, do you see the cycle? What open houses can do for you? You got to be strategic. You got to think. All right. So what are some other things, if our goal is to generate and qualify leads, what are some other things we should think about as we're picking the house? We talked about price. We got ahead of ourselves on that one. Location. Okay. All right. I would also argue how long it's been on the market. Prepare and practice. So this kind of fits into what Taylor was talking about. Consider inviting a speaker, such as an inspector or a lender, right? These are people that can talk to parts of the process that you are not the local expert on. So I like the lenders because that is just such a hot button. But a home inspector, absolutely. Right? Understanding all of that type of stuff. Just don't let them start inspecting the house you're hosting open. You don't want to know. Diane laughed at that. Okay. See, this is why I like cameras, because I just got some energy from Diane. Okay. All right. So before you host your open house, Prepare a list of questions you may be asked and practice your conversation starters. So when we get to script practice later here, we're actually going to work on some conversation starters. Okay. All right, let me see. The follow-up, I like it. Coffee shop, great idea. Dutch Brothers, there's tons of independents. There sure are. And I'm not sure what I asked that Alfred said empty, but that's okay. If you are hosting a vacant house, always make sure you take a chair and a small table just to set stuff up on. Okay. Yep, empty house. Got it. All right, thank you. We got to get your microphones fixed, Alfred. I miss talking to you. Think about some of the questions you'll face as part of the open house. So again, just like we script and role play with our accountability partners, our phone calls, right? You guys have been practicing your intro, I'm in real estate conversations, right? Practice with your partner. When you're out setting up signs, start practicing how you're going to engage with people at the open houses, right? Or listen to somebody doing it. Another tip when it comes to questions that I like to do in any scenario, because at the end of the day, being good at what we do is just about asking great questions. So what if you, the night before or the morning, you know, you're getting your coffee ready and you're heading out for the open house in a couple hours to go to work. What if you just sat down with a piece of paper and just started writing out questions that you could ask people at an open house? One of my coaches says, always have 50 questions ready. Right? So what are 50 questions that you could talk to people about at an open house? We'll do some of those later. Right? But just start thinking about it, right? And by the way, one of them is not, are you working with an agent? That is not a question I want you to ask. There's other ways to find out without being that direct. Okay? You might want to know when that clients might want to know, when did they do that remodel? How old is the roof? How old is the furnace? Those are things people ask. So maybe as part of your open house prep, maybe you have some random questions like that that you ask the listing agent, right? Maybe it's okay to say to Margaret Gade, who you're hosting her open house at one of her listings this weekend, and you say, hey, Margaret, do you know how old the furnace and the roof is at the house in Thornton? Or do you know how old the furnace and the roof is at the house in Arvada? I probably do know as the listing agent. And so if you ask me, I'll tell you. I think that's valuable information for an open house host to know. Okay. It's okay to ask questions. Okay. Once you've captured someone's contact information, you have plenty of opportunities to wow them with our technology and expertise. Okay. Most people use some kind of sign-in sheet. Okay. But not everybody does. So what are some other ways, if you don't have a clipboard with a piece of paper that says name, phone, email, address, and when are you looking to move? Love that question. What are some other ways that you could capture people's contact information?
Go ahead.
QR code.
You could use a QR code. Okay.
Some things that I've noticed, I've started offering like a $5 Starbucks gift card raffle to all of my open house attendees, and you'd be surprised how many people will actually turn around and correct their information once I say this on the paper. They're giving you fake stuff at first, and then a $5 gift card really gets them going. So
exactly. Yeah. I love that. So you could do a raffle or a drawing, and it doesn't have to be just for that one open house. It could be for all of your open houses for the month. Like if you're really active on this, right? Maybe you give away a gift card a month, and then instead of a $5 gift card, maybe it's a $50 gift card to Home Depot, right? Again, this is not, and remember I said this is inexpensive. You grow into some of these things. Okay, love that. Thank you, Taylor. What else? What are some other ways? If you go to your script, I'm new to real estate, there's a paragraph that is based on the order some of you are stumbling over. I have a what? The app, right? Well, if they want the app, I can give it to them on my phone and I hand them on my phone and I have them type in their phone number. Okay. So maybe that. Okay. We have used in the past a feedback form. So we would have a little half sheet of paper. And what we would do is when people came to into the open house, we wouldn't have a sign-in sheet, right? Because sometimes with sign-in sheets, you get Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and a bunch of bogus information. So we would build a relationship with them first. And then before we set them off to go to the open house, go walk the house, we would say something like, before you leave, the seller would really appreciate your feedback. As a buyer's agent, when we show houses, one of the things we give the listing agents is we fill out a feedback form after we show the home. But at an open house, we don't have the ability to capture that from everyone. So the seller has asked if you would fill out a feedback form. We would have a little feedback form and it would say, what did you think of the house? What was your favorite features? Like we'd have them write. And then down at the bottom, it was name, phone number, blood type, no, not quite, address, email, and are you interested in purchasing the home? Well, by the time they got walked through the house, their guard is down, right? So think about when you go shopping, okay? Let's all go to Nordstrom's. Okay, I don't know why I pick on Nordstrom's, but let's go pick on Nordstrom's. And we walk in the door, and what's the very first thing we get hit with?
Do you need
Can
help?
you have
Sue?
to find anything today? And if we all just walked into Nordstrom's and a very pleasant salesperson said, can I help you find anything today? What are y'all gonna say? No, thanks. I'm just looking. I'm just browsing. And you're giving them the hands up, right? You're giving them the brush off. Stay away. I don't want to talk to you. Do you think people at open houses act that same way? Yeah, because you're going to call me, you're going to spam me, you're going to harass me. Stay away. Okay. They walk in with that. Okay. But you start building rapport with them. What happens to that wall? It comes down, right? I'm still at Nordstrom's. I've got up to 5 pairs of black pants in my hands because that's the only thing I ever shop for at Nordstrom's, right? And I go to the dressing room and I come out of the dressing room and the salesperson says, did any of those work for you? Am I going to say, stay away? My guard's down, right? I already found the black pants. I'm going to say, this one does, these other ones, not so much. And she's going to go, let me take those from you. Can I help check you out? Or is there something else you'd like to find? Maybe I need a new top. And I might say, well, I've been kind of looking for blah, 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 and I didn't see it. I'm more likely to respond because she's built a relationship with me, right? Does that make sense? Open houses are the same way. So Robert worked in open house with us the other couple weekends ago. And I'm hoping that if I were to ask him, were the first words out of my mouth when somebody walked in the door, hi, fill out my sign-in sheet. Never. It was, welcome. My name is, and I'll go through those later, right? What brings you here today, right? What do you think of the weather, right? Go Broncos if they're wearing Bronco gear, whatever, right? And then I'll say, by the way, if you could do us a favor, there's a sign-in sheet over there that would be really helpful. And we get pretty good information with that, even using now the upfront sign-in sheet, which part of that's the gift of COVID. But also part of it is I don't start with, I need you to sign in. Because when I start with, I need you to sign in, I'm going to get Mickey Mouse. Okay. All right. All right, here we go. And again. Okay. Pick the date and time and a theme. Do all open houses have to be on Saturdays and Sundays? They know, right? They can be anytime. Kathy Peterson, who's in our office a few years ago, man, her open houses were on, depending on where they were, but most of her open houses were on Fridays from 11 to 2. Why was she doing Fridays from 11 to 2?
Grab the lunch crowd.
Grab the lunch crowd. are the people that only worked half a day and they were boogieing out of town. I'm watching a top producing agent who I'm Facebook friends with. She has started doing her open houses on Wednesday nights, and now she's got her houses under contract before Saturday, so she gets the weekend off. Brilliant. Right? Do you serve wine and cheese at your open house? Do you do a Thursday night happy hour? Do you do a twilight on Friday nights for the neighbors? Do you do a Sunday afternoon football party? I don't know. I am going to tell you, be careful with alcohol. I choose not to, just because I don't want the liability. Other people are doing it and it's fine. Never, ever, ever, never, 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 ever, never, ever, ever serve red wine in a house. Never. Because red wine spills and then what do you got? A mess. And you're an open house host. You're not even the listing agent. Maybe you are the listing agent. Do you want to replace the carpet? No. We do clear liquids. We do water, Sprites. We don't do orange crush soda, right? We don't do anything that's got a red base to it because I don't want the problem. I don't want to risk it. Okay. So plan ahead. Okay. So pick your time. If you listen to Chris's video, he talks about figuring out what time kids get out of school. Right? Chris's $1 million open house business meant that he hosted 8 open houses a week. Well, that wasn't all happening on Saturday and Sunday, let me tell you. He would have open houses on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and take Sundays off. Okay? So pick your times, pick your themes. To me, I don't get too much into the themes except when it makes sense. So my favorite open house that we did of all time was we went active on Halloween. Don't ask me why, but that was what it was. It was a Saturday. So to prep for the open house, we reverse trick-or-treated the entire neighborhood, which meant that we went and got little tiny candy bags that were not witches and ghosts, but like just cute little pumpkins and fall themes, because you never know where somebody's at. Put a couple of pieces of candy in it, and then an invitation to the neighbors to come to the open house. So we went around and door knocked. I think that when we door knocked 300 houses that week, because it was in my farm. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew about it. So we reverse prospected. And then on Halloween, we did dress up, meaning I had on a pair of cat ears and I put some whiskers on my face. Nothing scary, right? But we had it fun because it was on Halloween. We had a big old pumpkin there filled with candy, and we had cider that day, right? So if you have something that falls in that environment, have some fun with it, right? If you're going to do a football theme one, then yeah, it's okay to wear a Bronco jersey or a Green Bay Packer jersey, or just not a Tom Brady or a Raiders jersey, okay? Okay, Diane laughed again. Okay, I'm getting some energy back. This is good, okay? So having fun with stuff does make a difference, but just be smart about and be thoughtful about how you do it, okay? The next one, prepare your stats. Know your market. Okay. What now? This local information provided by the school district, if you have a printout from the website, I'm okay with it. But it's not your opinion. And I'm going to give you the classic example because you guys know I will share my story all day long. My daughter is a Chinese adoptee. I'll just put that out on the table first. So if someone was to say to me, she went to Ralston Valley High School. Okay. If someone was to say, is Ralston Valley High School a great high school? I would say absolutely yes. However, for our family, the diversity wasn't there. Right? My definition of a great high school and your definition of a great high school and your definition, I bet you we've got 15 people on Zoom, plus we got 4 of us in the room. So we have almost 20 people here. And I'll bet you we all have 20 different opinions of what a great school is. Make sense? So please don't give your opinion of the schools. But if you want to print out from the website the information on the local school, then you're not the source. Does that make sense? Okay. But have that local information. If there's big employers nearby, have that information. The recreation. Here's the thing I would also know the stats on the neighborhood houses. So what I would do is I like to print out all of the houses that are currently active in the neighborhood. Maybe I go within a half a mile radius of the property, because they might walk into my house and it doesn't work for them, but this other house might. So if I have that information, I can talk to them about that at the open house. The other thing I will do is I will use the quick CMA tool in RE Colorado. I'm not going to teach you how to use that today, but the quick CMA tool allows you to pull up. You can put in there the current actives, the pendings, and the recent solds. So if someone wants to start talking to you about the price of the house, you can flip your clipboard. I always have a clipboard in my hand back in the day. And I would say, well, here's what's currently happening in the market. Here's what's happening in the neighborhood. So having that information makes you a what? Expert, right? The other thing I do is I always have my Keller Williams app open. Ooh, got a lot of emails. All right, I have my Keller Williams app open, right? Because if I use that, all of a sudden, what do they want from me? My app. If I'm using it, it must be good. Yeah, I would love to have your app, Robert. Okay, how we doing? You guys are so quiet today. All right, the last one. This one is probably the most important in my mind. Do not, never, ever. Kevin will tell you, Bob will tell you, I will tell you, Charles will tell you, do not ever work an open house alone. I don't care if you're male, female, I don't care if you have a concealed carry or not. Do not work an open house alone. And there's two reasons. One is the safety side of it. But the second side of it is, if you suddenly had an open house where 30 people came in 2 hours, would you really be able to spend the proper amount of time with all of them to build the relationships to maximize the time that you were spent there? No, right? So if I'm working an open house with Brannon and we have an open house where 30 people come in, the likelihood is one of us is going to talk to every single one of us is going to get to every single one of those groups or those people, right? And if there's one of them that's the hot lead of the day, I'm really glad to know Brandon's the one that's going to get it if it's not me. But if I'm there by myself, what happens when the one person that was ready to go was the one I didn't get to? Neither one of us won, right? Make sense? So buddy systems are good because I think you have a better, higher quality of customer service. It allows you to have the opportunity to build relationships when you're there with people, and it keeps you safer. There was an open house in 2015. We were hosting it for Robin Phipps. We had over 100 people come through. It was herding cats. We threw up our hands. All we did was watch the doors to make sure nobody carried anything out. We stopped using the sign-in sheets. We stopped using the feedback forms. We couldn't even talk to everybody that was in the house. It was chaos. Please, I don't ever want another open house like that at all. I would rather have 5 people come in and build 4 good relationships. Okay. So use the buddy system. Arrive early. Okay. Walk the house. Turn on the lights. Park on the street. Never, never, never park in the driveway. Never. Why would I say that? If someone comes with ill intentions, what can they do to your car?
Block it in.
Block it in. If you're on the street, they're going to have a harder time blocking you in. Okay. Plus, I don't like the look of it, right? I want the people who come to the open house to be able to walk up the driveway. But I want my car on the street. I don't park right in front of the house. I usually park a ways away because I want places for the people who are coming. Because if people come to drive up to an open house and we've taken up all the parking places, they might not stop. Okay. I want to know where all the entrances and exits are. I'm going to make sure that they're all open when I start and they're all locked when I leave. I'm going to make sure that my cell phone is fully charged. Right? And my family is going to know where I'm at. Okay. I'm going to turn on all the lights in the house. Check your local COVID guidelines. That's right now. We don't have a lot of that. I would say be smart. We always have hand sanitizer there. Just be aware. It's not bad to carry Clorox. And so there's nothing wrong with wiping down the counter surfaces after you leave. That was a big thing during COVID. Follow our guidelines of your market center and checklists for open houses. There is a code. So this is for Arvada only because I can't speak to the other 2 market centers, but they probably have something similar. We have what's called the red file. We don't talk about the red file enough. So if you are at an open house and something feels wrong, I want you to have some phone numbers pre-programmed in your phone. Charles, Bob, Margaret, and the listing agent. And if something feels wrong and you can pick up the phone and you call one of us and you say, hey, I need some additional information out of the red file for 123 Beach Street. That is the alert to us that you're in a situation that you are not comfortable with. So you've told us where you are and you've asked for the red file. Okay. Now, in 8 years, we've never had anyone use that I'm aware of. I've never had to. Okay. But know that it's there. Okay. Now, if there's 2 of you at the open house, right? And if we get that call, we're going to call the authorities. Right. Our next phone call is to the authorities. You can also text us. Red file 123 Beach Street. And if you text all 4 of us at the same time, we will move into action. One of us will pick that up quickly. Charles and I always have our phones by us. Right? So just know that's aware. And now that we've talked about it, you'll never need to use it. Okay. But we have had circumstances where people get a little weird. Right. And by having 2 of you there, Jeff Gorman has actually called Bob once and said, I need you to come to your listing now. Okay. So just be aware. All right. Questions? Did I scare anybody? No? All right. What's your takeaways? I want to hear them. There's got to be some big ones here.
Prepare and practice. I need to get better about pulling the stats. I had some stats this last weekend, but I didn't have enough. And I think I really need to work on that. And then ask great questions. I really need to get my questions organized.
Yep. And it doesn't matter how many of these you have done. You will still go, oh, I should have asked more questions, right? Or, oh, I wish I would have thought of, right? And you will get really, 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 really good at it, right? But it takes practice. And we're going to work on that today. What else? One more. Give me something from somebody else.
Yeah, I had a question before when you were talking about learning about the property. Is having the seller's disclosure, is that useful information as far as like knowing stuff, how old the furnace is and the roof, etc.?
You could. I mean, you could absolutely ask the listing agent if they have that. I typically just focus though on the furnace and the roof and the hot water heater. But yeah, it can't hurt to ask that. I don't see a problem with it. Let me put it this way, Brandon, if you were hosting my open house this weekend at my listing, I would be more than happy to give it to you.
Okay, great.
Okay. And it's okay to so there's nothing wrong. Here's the other thing, right? Call the listing agents. If you didn't set it up, like Taylor talks about, she gets involved with the listing agents up front herself, right? But if you're getting it through me, through my program, okay, through the coaching program, you know who the listing agent is. You want to impress a listing agent? Pick up the phone and call Brittany Heckenberg and say, hey, Brittany, and don't both of you do it. Okay. So if Mark and Robert are working Brittany's open house this weekend, please don't both of you call Brittany, just one of you. right? But one of you call her and say, hey, Brittany, I'm hosting the open house with Mark or Robert, whichever one's calling. And I was just kind of curious. I wanted to just chat with you and introduce myself and say, is there anything specific I need to know about the house? I think that would be kind of an impressive phone call to receive as a listing agent. Okay. Can't hurt. Right. And that's Brandon, where you're going to get some of that information. Right. And she'll go, well, no, not really. Or maybe there was, like, what if there was a structural repair on it? Right. Or she could say something like, well, make sure that the buyer perspective see blah, 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 blah. Okay. The solar system or whatever it is. Right. Just talk to them and learn those things. So I love that. That's great. Great, great, great. What else? One more in the room.
Here's the thing, repair, repairing.
Okay.
And like I said, I think I feel like I need more practice in both English and Spanish.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the best practice is just go do it. Because here's the thing. If you go to an open house and you blow it, so you blew it, maybe you missed a lead. I'd rather have you blow that than a listing presentation. Right? So Alfred writes, don't follow people into the basement or upstairs. There is an art to that, both when you're showing homes and open houses. So typically, I'm not tour guide Barbie when it comes to open houses. Now, when COVID was going on strong, and if we start to see a spike, we could go back to this, where we would escort people through the house. And then if they wanted a closet open, we would open it because we either had a gloved hand or we had a Clorox wipe in our hand. So we didn't want them touching surfaces. I don't feel that that's as prevalent currently today. But if you're going to go in the basement when you're showing houses, follow them down. Don't get trapped in the basement, right? So if they're going down in the basement, they go first, okay? If they're going upstairs, they go first. So always make sure you have yourself positioned between them and the exit. I might not run very fast, but if I'm in a bad situation, I might still be able to sprint like I did when I was 17 years old. Okay. What is this duress code, Brandon? I don't want to hit it.
That's what you were talking about when that's the term for it. In the world I worked in before, if you have a, secret phrase, then that's called a duress code.
Yeah.
But also
here's the thing.
I did work in a place where there was a duress pin as well. And if you hit that duress pin when you're badging in, then it would be help would arrive whether you wanted it or not.
Yep. And there are a ton of safety apps, right? I know even RE Colorado has one for us, but it's a certain thing where it's more for when you're showing homes. I can't imagine trying to do it on an open house, but you're literally got your phone in your hand. And for those of you on Zoom, I could turn my camera around, but you've got your thumb on the screen. And if your phone comes off of the screen for more than like 3 seconds, they immediately have you GPS. They know exactly where you are and they call the cops. So like think about showing a house to somebody. And here's the thing, don't show houses to people you don't know. I mean, that's the easy part, right? But I mean, Mark could probably tell stories about his Redfin days, right? So, having your finger on that screen as you're showing the house and knowing that if your hand comes off of the phone and within a certain amount of time, there's going to be an alert to this app system that's going to send the cops. That's a safety way, right? It's another way, because I don't know, when I show houses, I always have my phone in my hand.
Also, there's an app through I think any of these realtor associations called Forewarn. It's more probably for showing houses once again, but you can enter in anybody's phone number or name and do a quick background check on them if it's somebody that you don't know that you're going to show houses to.
Yep. Here's the thing. If somebody calls me and says, hey, and I have done this as the listing agent, I get a sign call, hey, I want to see your house. I get their information. First thing I do is I Google it. Second thing, I check it on LinkedIn. So I do some homework. That's a great tool, Taylor. That's fairly new, but you can do that. Meet them at the coffee shop down the street from the house and bring someone with you. My 17-year-old daughter went to a lot of coffee shops in my early days, but she knew how to how to handle a cell phone. She wasn't going to hurt anybody. She wasn't going to stop anybody, but she was another person who could call if we needed it. And then the other thing I have not been afraid to do when it's a sign call like that, I know we're going off kind of off on a bunny trail a little bit, but the other thing is I'll say, that's great. Can you send me a copy? Can you snap a picture of your driver's license? I need to have it before I can show you home, or I need to meet you in my office. Blame the office. Say we require it. We don't care. My office requires that I have a copy of an ID for everybody that I show a home to. Mark, at Redfin, when you were working as a showing agent for them, did you guys have some certain safety protocols? Like if I called up at Redfin and say, I want to see 123 Beach Street, what would you guys do?
Basically they would schedule it and then I'd get an email asking that I do all that background, like get a copy of their driver's license, feel them out. Redfin's policy was if there was a new person that you didn't know, was to meet in a parking lot, like at a grocery store first. It was basically just the roll of the dice. I would just wait till they pulled up at the residence and do a quick assessment.
Okay.
But it was pretty wide open. You were on your own. Just
Got
like
it. But they did ask for driver's license, meet them in a public place, right? So
Yes.
just all of those same safety things that we just talked about. So great. Glad to know they didn't have some secret I hadn't thought of. All right. Love it. How you guys feeling? Is this a good one today? Right? All right.
So I want to be clear, if you have an open house and you can't find anybody, a buddy to do it with, then you will not have the open house.
Well, you know that 15-year-old daughter? Ask me how many open houses she sat at and did homework. Ask Stacy's husband, Ben, how many times he's sat there and just sat in the house.
So you can bring someone other than a realtor.
Yes. So the pecking order that I would use, if it were me, is to have a second realtor there. Right? Just because, like I said, if we had a bunch of people, even with a lender, I don't want somebody to get away. I want one of us to get the lead, right? Second choice, a lender, an inspector, a title person, like people that are in the industry, maybe an insurance guy, right? Like I've never asked David Fear from Altitude Insurance, but he said open houses, right? But he probably would because he wants business too. Lenders will work your open houses for two reasons. One, they're there, they can talk about things with potential buyers. They can sometimes do pre-approvals on the spot, which is pretty cool. And the third thing is when agents show up to show houses during open houses, it gives the lender the opportunity to get to know the other realtor, because how do lenders make their money? Through our referrals. So lenders love them, right? Family and that kind of stuff is I'm desperate, I got no choice. I want somebody there who's part of the world. Okay, good question. All right. Prepare, prospect. How are we doing on time? Because sometimes I go long on some of this stuff. Okay, prepare, prospect, and pursue. So the difference between big and really big is how you manage your time and your focus. That's an interesting quote. The difference between big and really big is how you manage your time and focus. I love that. You can have a big business, or with the right level of focus and preparation, you can get a really big business. Okay, depends on what you want. I think that's what Gary means by that. So we are going to talk now about how to prepare, prospect, and pursue an open house. And I am so stoked about this section because it really is all about planning. And I want to say this before I switch to the next slide. The slides are perfect world. Not every day is perfect world. These slides are going to show you how to start preparing for a Saturday open house on Monday. Well, that only works Except when I get a phone call from a listing agent on Thursday or Friday that says, you got anybody that can work an open house tomorrow? Okay, so sometimes you're gonna have to crunch this stuff together. So my hope is that you, as you walk away from this class today, you lay out what your plan is going to be and you put some tools in place. As an example, I know, and I don't know if they're here, if Nikki and Amanda literally have a rolling cart, and we have one too, and the rolling cart has everything we need in it. It has pens, it's got sign-in sheets, it's got clipboards, it's got the snacks that we do. We've got a second rolling cooler that we use, and there's a separate refrigerator in my garage that's only used for open house drinks. Right? So we're not scrambling the morning of to have those things, right? If somebody calls me on Friday night and says, who am I going to pick on? Mark's not feeling well. He can't do the open house tomorrow. We've got to do it. I could literally be ready to roll very quickly because I have this stuff prepped. So then on Friday night in my mental prep, I'm just learning the house. Make sense? I just want to talk about that because just because it doesn't fall into perfect doesn't mean we can't do it. Okay, so most of the work for open houses is done the day before the day of the open house. Our mindset, our conversations, right? So we've done the hard part, right? We've picked the open house. We know what things we need to do. We know that 93% of buyers use a website to find a house to go where the people are. So you need to post online about your open house. So where can you do that? First of all, the MLS has an input section, right, Robert, about where you can post your open house times. Make sure, if you're doing it for someone other than yourself, that you go to RE Colorado or whichever MLS you're using and verify that the listing agent has put your open house in the MLS. Because if it's in the MLS, it's going to feed out to Redfin, Zillow, and all the other search apps. So when people go and search open houses, Greeley, I'm going to sell that Greeley one to somebody today. Okay, open house Greeley, it'll pop up, right? That's one way that's marketing that's free, right? There are Facebook groups out there. So there's a couple of them that are Denver open house Facebook groups. Join them. Put your open houses in there. Let other realtors know about your open house. Because I will tell you, even though I watch the MLS, every once in a while, I'll see something pop up in one of those Facebook groups and go, oh my God, that would be really good for Susie and Dave. I should call them and invite them, tell them about this open house and we'll go. Even though they might not be actively looking, right? So put your stuff in those Facebook posts. Put it in Facebook Marketplace. Put it on your own Facebook page. Do a Facebook ad, pay a little bit of money. You can do a lot for a $5 Facebook ad, you guys, right? You can do a lot. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars. Okay. So the more prep and the more marketing you do on it and the farther in advance you do it, the better off you are. Okay. You can get lots of good information from the neighbors, right? So go door knocking. Our routine was on Fridays, we would door knock Friday afternoons and invite the neighbors to the open house. Our goal was to hit 50. And my open house partner and I at the time, we would have a race to see who could get to their 25 handed out first. And when you're in the neighborhood, the script is just something super easy. Hi, my name is Margaret. I'm a local realtor here. And I just wanted to let you know your neighbor down the street at 123 Main Street just put their house on the market. And we're going to be having an open house tomorrow. And twofold, I wanted to let you know that was happening because there's probably going to be a little extra traffic. And second of all, I wanted to invite you. It's really important to the sellers for you to see what the house looks like, because here's what we know. People like to pick their neighbors. Do you have a friend that's come to the neighborhood and said, wow, I'd really like to live in this area? If so, would you please invite them and bring them down? Okay. Now, my other favorite question to the neighbors is, even if I'm not in that extreme market we were just in, I will say, here's the other thing we know. it's not uncommon that sometimes we have more than one buyer who wants to buy the house and we only have one. Do you know anyone else in the neighborhood who's thinking of selling in the next 60 to 90 days? Because the neighbors will squeal on each other. And depending on the person and the engagement that I've had with them, I might actually say, or is there any one of them you want to get rid of? Right? Have some fun with these. Oh, I got Diane to laugh again. Okay. Have some fun. And then the other thing is when the neighbors come in, I will ask them questions. How long have you lived in the neighborhood? What's your favorite part about the neighborhood? What should I share with people who come to the open house? Okay. People love to talk about their neighborhood. True story. I was hosting an open house. You guys all know Chris Voorhees. So Chris and I were working an open house out in Layden Rock. Okay. If you don't know Layden Rock overlooks the dump. And for a long time, it had a reputation of being really trashy, of stuff blowing up from the dump. And they did a great job of fixing it. It's not nearly the problem it is unless we have those 100-mile-an-hour winds. And then they deal with it really quickly. So anyway, I got asked that question at the open house and I did not know the answer. So about 20 minutes later, a neighbor walks in, lives just down the street. So similar view of the house I'm hosting. And one of the questions I got is, well, can you smell the dump? That was one of the things that one of the people that came to the open house asked me. So I said to the neighbor, because there was nobody else around, I said, I have a question for you. This is kind of random. I said, but I got asked this question earlier the day and I didn't know how to answer it. So is the dump a problem? And she goes, well, we used to get some blowing trash, blah, 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 blah. And I said, can you ever smell it? And she goes, no, we are one of the original owners and we have never smelled the dump. So remember what Taylor said earlier? Call them back. When they have a question and you don't know the answer, get the answer and call them back. So after the neighbor left, I went to my sign-in sheet, found the person who asked the question, and I called him back. And I said, hey, I just want to let you know, I just had one of the neighbors was literally just down the street walk in. And I just kind of asked them about your question with the dump. And here's what I found out. By the way, I sold them a house 2 months later. Okay. So it's okay to ask the questions and the best people to ask are the neighbors. Right. Okay. Questions. I am told in your participant guide, I don't know if anybody has it open, but there is a checklist. They have an activity called preparing for an open house. Okay, Diane's holding it up, but I can't see what it says. I want you to review the checklist and tell me quickly, do you have any questions about it? All right. Here comes the meat. I think. Yep, here we go. Actually, I jumped ahead. I forgot to move the slide forward. So if you see on my slide right now, the week before the open house preparation, somehow I got on the wrong slide. Okay. All right. So you're going to select the house on Monday. Tuesday, you're going to post online about it. You're going to walk the neighborhood. And you might start invite neighbors to the showing. I typically do that on Friday, but that's okay. On Wednesday, I'm going to post online about it again, and I'm going to install the yard sign. Now, if you're not the listing agent, you're not installing the yard sign, they are. However, what you might consider investing in is a writer. So a writer you can order from different companies. You can get them locally from S&G Signs, and there's another sign company. They're like 15 bucks. They're not a big investment, right? And you could have your own writer that says open house Saturday. And then you can get magnets that you can change the times. Now you could say, well, I'm always going to do my open houses 11 to 1, or I'm always going to do 12 to 2. So what I did is I bought some 11s, some 1s, some 12s, and some 2s, because that was pretty much, I was either going to do 11 to 2, or I was going to do 12 to 2, or 11 to 1, right? So I just only bought those magnets. I didn't buy the whole number series. Okay. And ask the listing agent, can I put a writer on your sign? Most of us would say yes, if we didn't already do it for you. Okay. Thursday, you're going to post online again. Maybe you're going to invite your database. So one of the things that we have done, and I don't know why it took me 8 years to figure this out, but I went into command and I took my database and I divided them up by geographic. So using the intersection of I-25 and I-70, I have my database divided up between Northwest, Northeast, Southeast, Southwest. So if I'm hosting an open house this weekend and I'm at the Thornton House, I am going to send an email through command to everybody in my database that lives in the Northeast, who's tagged as Northeast. Will they all come? Maybe, not all of them, but maybe one will. If I'm hosting an open house at our Arvada listing, I'm going to send it to everybody that's in my Northwest. Okay, these are some ideas I'm giving you. I'm throwing out some best practices that are not in any of these scripts, because open houses is one of my big ways of growing our business. Okay, and then Friday, I'm posting online, I'm preparing my market stats, I'm printing flyers, and I'm door knocking. If I was going to redo this, I would move that Tuesday, invite the neighbors to the showing. I would just make that part of Friday, unless I'm doing a Friday only VIP open house, which is for brokers and neighbors. Get the brokers and the neighbors out of there. Amanda and Nikki do that at a beautiful level. If you ever get a chance and they advertise them and they invite the entire office to go to Amanda and Nikki's broker open on a Friday night, go. Just watch what they do. Even if you don't get the opportunity to shadow someone like that, you see that they're doing an open house on a Saturday, just go to the open house. If you're bored one Saturday, go to a Remax or an EXP or another broker. Go to some open houses and just see how other agents do them. Right? You'll get some great ideas. Okay. The other thing that's not on here that is in the open house prep that I really like to do. How many of you got a phone call from me yesterday? Few of you? Yep, you sure did. Mark didn't, because he'd already replied that he wanted an open house. So I called about 40 people all at one time. So how did I do that? I used a system called Sly Broadcast. And I loaded up the phone numbers of the people that I wanted to send a number to, send a message to, and I pre-recorded the message that you all got on your phones. So I called somewhere between 40 and 50 people at one time. Remember we talked about leverage? That was leverage, right? It was a way for me to get a hold of by voice, and you guys could all hear my voice. I need open house hosts this weekend. Some of you are picking up your phones going, did I get a voicemail from Margaret? I see you. I see you looking, right? Some of you didn't because you'd already talked to me, okay? You can do that same thing with the neighbors. So how do you get the neighbors' phone numbers? Well, we have a tool in the coaching program that's available to you guys called the Cole Directory. Taylor, your team probably has that as well. Taylor Trom, right? And with the Cole Directory, we can get name, address, landline, cell phone, and email addresses for people that are associated to addresses within a geographical area.
Where do you get this from?
It's called the Cole Directory.
Okay.
It's $1,000 a year. And if you're in coaching, you guys don't have to pay for it. We will pull the data for you. So if you're hosting that open house at 123 Beach Street, you can reach out to Stacy and say, can you send me a Cole poll or a Cole directory list of all of the properties within a half a mile of 123 Beach Street? And she will pull that for you. She needs at least 24 hours notice. So this would be an early prep thing, right? And not only does it give you the landline and the cell phone, it bumps it up against the do not call list. Okay. So then what you can do is you can take those phone numbers that are not on the do not call list. You can upload those into your Sly Broadcast account. You can create a recording that sounds like this. Hi, this is Margaret Gade. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams, and I'm calling to invite you to an open house that we're having in your neighborhood on Saturday from 11 to 1 at 123 Beach Street. The sellers, Joe and Diane, really would love to have you come down and see what they've done to the property. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call, or I'll see you on Saturday. Okay, I just made that up on the fly, by the way. It's not some script I memorized. Okay, so then you push the go button on slide broadcast, and what happens? Every single person that you put their phone number in just got that message on their voicemail. Just like you all did last night from me. Okay, Trip, good one. Is that a good thing to know? Questions about this timeline? Because I think this is really good. This is very similar to what Chris does. You good with it? How many of you are going, boy, I never worked an open house like that before?
Boy, I've never worked a open house like that before.
Thank you. Some of you have worked several open houses, right? I'm hoping you're seeing how this can make that time more proficient. Because I'm going to be really honest, you guys. If open houses are not like it's only a 2-hour event, right? I always figure the day I'm hosting an open house, I'm on the job for 5 hours. Okay, I get to the house an hour before, I go out and set signs, I get the house ready to go. I set up. Then I host a 2-hour open house. It is not uncommon for people to show up 2 minutes after the open house was supposed to end. Well, I don't kick them out, I let them stay. Then I got to go pick up the signs. So by the time I drive to the open house, set up the signs, set up the open house, do the open house, take down the open house, it's 5 hours, you guys. At least 4. I want to maximize that time. So by following a process like this, you're going to maximize the number of people that come, right? And the number of people that are going to show up, and you're going to get the right quality of people there. Now, I'm going to give you another hint. If you use that call directory and you do that slide broadcast, turn your phone on silent for the next 30 minutes, go to lunch, and leave it on your desk. Because you will have Susie neighbor call you right back. You probably really don't want to talk to Susie neighbor, right? Because you're always going to have that one person who may go, why are you calling me? Just walk away from your phone for a little bit. Okay, let it go to voicemail. All right, questions? Do I still have all 15 of you here? Oh no, I lost my chat thing. Okay, what clients like to know? Okay, so knowing financial and mortgage information is something visitors might ask. I think in this current market, I think it would be valuable to have your lender run you some scenarios of what the monthly payment would be on that house. If you purchase it for the purchase price and you do 5% down at this average rate, or you put 10% down, or you put 20% down, right? Have that information, okay? We have another, I'm not even going to go there, never mind. So they're going to want to know community and neighborhood information, right? So again, this is part of that preparation. They're going to want to know about relocation information. They're going to want to know about first-time buyer specifics, and they're going to want to know mortgage information. So if you have those that payment, that estimated payment, and make sure people know this is just a ballpark, right? Everybody's scenario is different. It's going to be completely contingent on what interest rates are at the time you go for it, finish. But at least you're going to have something that'll be in the ballpark, right? Does that sound like a good idea? Can you explain the buying process to a first-time home buyer? You will after you take the buyer consultation class in 2 weeks. Okay. Get them to do the download on the KW app, right? Know what you need to know. Okay. All right. Next slide. We're going to prospect. Okay. So prospecting is building that trust and rapport, is providing values and capturing information and qualifying the leads, right? So this is where, again, leads, listings, and leverage, right? Open houses are all about leads and leads and leads and leads and leads. Did I say that open houses are about leads? Okay. It is a great prospecting tool because it's low money. And the better ability that you have to build rapport and trust with people and give them something of value. Okay. There's all kinds of things that you can do on the back of an open house flyer to provide people value. You could have a list of where all the spooky Halloween houses are this time of year. You could have neighborhood information on the back of that, right? You can do, there's so much creativity that you can go around that and have some fun. Okay. And then capturing those leads and qualify them. If you use a sign-in sheet, let me give you some hints. The first line of the people are like, people follow the lead in front of them. I think that's a fair statement to say. So the very first number on your open house sign-in sheet, if that's what you're using, I recommend having a made-up name. So I will do crazy things. Like I will write my brother's first name and his wife's maiden name. And then I will put my house number with his street. And I will put some really weird @gmail.com email. And I will take his wife's area code, my first 3 digits, and his last 4 digits of his phone number. So I'm not putting real information there. And then there's this other question that I've added to the end of mine that I love this, you guys. The top of the question is, are you considering making a move? And there's 4 answers. In 6 months, a year, 5 years, or never. And get them to check the box. So guess what Steve's answer always is? In the next 6 months. Right? So now when Susie open house person comes in, she's going to write all of this in the same information because the guy up above on number 1 filled out all the blanks. So therefore I need to fill out all the blanks. And number 3 should do that. Number 4, if you find that somebody stops filling out the blanks, go put in another made-up name with all the information filled out, because then the next person will follow that lead. Does that make sense? Here's the other thing that is critical. Okay, and you watched us do this. Okay, so we're having a great rapport, right? Taylor's at my open house, and I'm finding out she's a first-time home buyer, and this is what she's looking for, and this house didn't exactly work, and she's a current renter, and maybe she went to the University of Colorado. I don't know. So anyway, Taylor walks away. She either walks away to go look at the house, or it's at the end and she's leaving. I take that open house sign-up sheet and I flip it over because the backside is blank. And say she's number 4 on the list. It's great because we have them numbered 1 through 20. I make a little note on the back and it says number 4. And it says, see you grad, buying in next 6 months. This house was too big, whatever the conversation was. Okay, because now when I call Taylor back, I have notes. I can reference things. I can bring her back to that conversation where we were crying the blues because CU can't play football this year. Okay, that makes that rapport building that much stronger because she thinks you remember her. She never saw you write down those notes. And it also helps me identify which people I need to call back on my drive home from the open house. If I have somebody who's like, they're pre-approved and they are buying a house this weekend, I'm calling them after I've picked up the signs on my way home. Hey, it's me. I just wanted to check in. Do you have any more questions about the house? Why don't we meet at Starbucks? As a matter of fact, I'm just down the street. Are you guys close? Do you want to meet in my office in Old Town, right? Like whatever it is, I'm going to try. If I didn't get the appointment at the open house, I'm going to try again. These people are hot. Don't let them get away. Don't wait till Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Get up. Okay. The other trick, it's not a trick. It's a best practice. I have to stop using the word trick because that sounds sneaky. Another best practice is you bring your note cards to the open house. When you have quiet time at the open house, write your notes to the people that attended your open house while you're right there. Thanks, Diana. Have a good one. Okay, so write those, use that time when you're at the open house. Okay. All right.
Do you send thank you cards to everybody, even if they have an agent already?
If it was an agent escort, I hope they're not even on my sign-in sheet. So if the agent brought them to the open house, I just want the agent's card. I don't want those people's contact information. They're just mucking up my paper. If it's someone who comes to the open house and in my conversation questions, I learn that they claim to have a realtor, I kind of have to do the sniff test as far as, were they really telling me the truth, or did they figure me out and were they bluffing? If they're like, hey, we're working with Lisa Couch from Remax and she's up in the mountains and she just told us to pop by, I'm probably not. Right? But if they go, yeah, yeah, we've got a realtor, like, they really fishy with it, I probably will. But it's probably more of a, thank you so much for stopping by the open house. It was a pleasure to meet you. If there's anything I can ever do, let me know. Okay. If it's somebody who doesn't have an agent and they're getting ready to move in the next 6 months, thank you so much for stopping by our open house. Would love to schedule a time like we talked about in the next couple of weeks to get together. Like, I'm going to tailor my note so that I don't look like I'm crossing a line if they have an agent, but if they were kind of bluffing, I still want them to have my info. Does that make sense? Like, there's no black and white answer to that. And by the way, you guys have to decide that, right? Bob will tell you, in Margaret's business, Margaret lives in the world of dark gray. Okay. There are other people who live in the world of light gray. You have to decide where you want to play. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's kind of some question with the notes. Like, how do you know who to take notes on if you think they're, you're not ever clear on if they have an agent or not.
So if I'm not clear, okay, so first of all, if number 5 says I'm working with Lisa Couch and they signed in, when they walk away, it's going to say number 5 has agent Lisa Couch. So now I'm not going to do anything with number 5. As a matter of fact, when I get home, I'm probably going to draw a line through it. Okay. If they were kind of wishy-washy that, yeah, we've been talking to a couple of agents or maybe, because here's the other thing. Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. With Redfin, they don't sign a buyer agency agreement till they write an offer. True? Okay. So if they say, yeah, we've been working with Redfin, they're not under a buyer agency agreement. So I'm going to be more aggressive with them. Okay. If they're working with an EXP or a Remax or a Caldwell Banker broker, I'm probably going to pull back. Does that make sense? This is where knowing your competition helps. Make sense? All right. Boy, we went down a whole lot of things. Next, I probably covered everything in the next slide and didn't even know it. Hey, let's see what happens. Okay. So, building trust and rapport. And I say to you guys, go to some open houses that aren't Keller Williams. I walked into an open house one time. I will not say what brokerage firm this person worked for. I'm going to guess that person's no longer in the business just because of my experience. They had no open house signs up. The only reason I knew there was an open house is that it was in the MLS and I found it. There was a sign on the door on like a white piece of paper with a Sharpie that said, come on in. Okay. I walked into the house and there was like a little hallway, a foyer area, and then it opened up into a great room and a kitchen. Okay. Well, there was cookies and there was water and there was nobody around. I went, hello? At that point, I'm like, and this guy comes out of he was in the den watching a football game. And now, granted, I introduced myself as an agent right away, but like, I'm like, really? Okay. So bad first impression, right? You didn't care. You were just there watching a football game. It's wasting your time. So somebody comes into the open house. Greet them at the front door, even the kids. And this says, and the dog. I don't let dogs in my open houses unless they're a true service dog. I don't know if the seller has dog allergies or not, but that dog can stand outside. Sorry.
Like, how do you know? Because I know, like, you're not supposed to, like, really ask them if they're, like, really a service dog.
A true service dog has a vest.
But you know how they've been buying them online, like.
You are correct, but those are usually the emotional support ones. Because the service, if it has a, if somebody's going to go to the work to bring in a bogus service dog, I'm not going to stop them. Right. But if somebody just comes in with their cute little designer puppy, I'm going to stop them. And I will lie. I'm sorry, the seller is allergic. Can you guys take turns coming into the house so the dog can stay outside? I will lie. Right. I will protect that. I don't want a dog in a house. Unless it's a true service dog, or at least appears to be one. Right. Here's some questions that you can ask at the very front door. First of all, I always introduce myself, but after that, it can be, so what brought you in today? Okay. I'll say things I like to use. My opening line is this one. I'm just kind of curious because I always like to know which piece of my marketing is working. How did you find us? And they're going to say, we found you on the internet. We found you on the Redfin app. I followed all your signs. Okay, great way to get them started, right? And then I'll say, so do you live here in the neighborhood or are you considering purchasing a home? I didn't open the car door and say, what can I sell you today? Do you live here in the neighborhood or are you considering purchasing a home? Based on their answer, that's going to tell me a lot, right? We live here in the neighborhood. I have a whole different set of questions I talk to neighbors about. How long have you lived here? What's your favorite part? Are you considering making a change in the neighborhood? Do you know anybody that wants to live in the neighborhood? Like, I'm going to treat them differently. Which model do you have? Tell me about your house, right? You get out into some of these newer ones, right? There's like 6 different models that are all in the neighborhood. Which one do you have? I'm going to build rapport with the neighbor. If they say they're looking to buy a home, I got a completely different set of questions, right? They could be things like, so have you been looking here in this neighborhood? Price range, what are you looking for? How long have you been looking? Okay, so I'm going to read the ones they gave you and then I will do my script. What brought you in today? Are you looking for a home in this neighborhood or this price range? Now, with an open house, they may not know what your price is. Have you been looking at other houses? Would you like to know more about the market or neighborhood? What do you like about this house that I may share with others? Okay. Here's Margaret's script. Hi, welcome. My name's Margaret. And usually they will tell me their names. And I do. I get his, I get hers, and I get the kiddos. Okay. And I repeat their name. It's great to meet you, Robert. It's great to meet you, Jackie. It's great to meet you, Lizbeth. Right. I'm going to make eye contact to each and every one, and I'm going to repeat your name because if I repeat your name, I have a better chance of remembering it when you come back around. And it's always nice when people say your name, right? Okay. Then I'm going to say, so my marketing, I'm always curious what's working. How did you find us today? And they're going to answer. And I'm going to have a comment, right? If they say signs, I'm going to go, oh, thank God it was 100 degrees out there. I'm glad they're working, right? I'm very lighthearted. I think you saw that. Is anyone else that's on here ever worked in open house with me and Stacy? No? Okay. I'm pretty lighthearted. I am not high pressure sales, which would surprise some of you because I am a very high D. Great, lighthearted. So let me ask you this. Do you live here in the neighborhood or are you looking to purchase a home? They're looking to purchase a home. That'll be great. How long have you been looking? No, we're just getting started, or we've been looking for 4 months or whatever. And I'll say, so tell me, what do you think of the houses that you've been seeing in the market that we're in? Okay. I'm just asking them questions because what do I want to bring down? The guard, right? I want the wall to come down. What do you think about the houses that you've been seeing? What do you think about the market? They're going to have an opinion. I'm probably going to react to the opinion depending on what they say. And it's at this point, I ask the most critical question when I'm working with a buyer at an open house. So of the houses you've been looking at, how have you been gaining access to them? Did you guys get that one? Of the houses that you have seen, how are you gaining access to them? Because how they answer that question will tell me the most critical thing I want to know of, do they have an agent or not? If they say, well, we've been just popping around open houses. What's a pretty safe assumption? They don't have an agent. If they say, well, our realtor, Lisa Couch from Remax, has been taking us around, or they say, well, our realtor has been taking us around. We've seen a few that way and we've done some open houses. My next question is, hey, are they working with Lisa Couch or are they working with Redfin, right? So I'm going to ask, but I'm going to be very subtle about it. I'm like, oh, well, who are you working with? And if they give me a name, sometimes I do know the agent. And if I know the agent's name, I'll say, oh, yeah, they're good. They're a good agent. Even if I think they're horrible, they're a good agent in the eyes of that client. I'm not going to dispute that. However, if they say they've been working with Redfin, to me, they're still a hot lead and they're probably hotter than anybody else that walks into that house. Right? So then I'm going to say, how's that experience been? Right? If they're working with Lisa Couch from Remax, and I just keep using that name because she's a really good friend of mine. Okay. So if they're working with Lisa Couch, it goes like this. Lisa's awesome, right? She's been great. And if I really did know her, right? She's a great agent. Let me tell you a little bit about the house and I'm going to send them on their merry way. I'm not even going to talk to them about the sign-in sheet because I don't want them on my sign-in sheet. But if they've been talking to Redfin, how's that been going? Okay. And then I'm going to tell them a little bit about the house and I'm going to ask them to sign in. Okay. Same thing with the people who are just going to open houses. Have you been finding what you've been looking for? How has it been going? Right. And maybe I have my app in the hand, right? And I'll say, let me tell you a little bit about the house. Now I'm also weaving in other conversation pieces. Like it doesn't go like this. Like I'm willing, Robert saw us do an open house and we had 10 or 15 groups that day that you were there, right? I never said the same script exactly the same way because I'm taking reads off of their responses. But I always would come back to my questions. And that's why having those 50 questions or knowing what you're going to say. Remember, we were talking here in the room before I launched the Zoom, and we were talking about how scripts and the conversation starters don't always flow in exactly the same order, but they allow you to bring the conversation back so that you're in control of the conversation and get everything in you either want to tell or ask. Okay, so that's how that works. And again, go take a look around the house. Here's my other trick. Even with people who have agents, best practice. I'm going to get out of that habit. Okay. Let me tell you a little bit about the house. We got 3 bedrooms. We got 2 baths. The house has been completely remodeled. There's not a single thing that they haven't touched. I just always like to share my favorite feature in this house is wait until you see the tile that they used in the master bathroom. Or wait till you see the creative bar they created in the basement. Or wait till you see that awesome play set in the backyard. Or whatever you find in the house that you find interesting, have that be my favorite feature. Make sure you check out my favorite part of this house. Because now I have them looking for it, right? All right, I'm going to do this for a minute. Because I want to see all of you. What are you thinking? You guys have been quiet. Becky, Marco, Sandy, talk to me.
Well, I mean, you've given me some great ideas as far as the call directory. I didn't know anything about that. So Jody would do that for me, I'm sure. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to. I've already worked 2 open houses, and they were kind of marginal, but I'm learning. So
good. Good. All right, Marco, you came off mute.
Yeah, I am fairly new to the real estate business.
Okay.
I just got my real estate license, so I'm looking to join the team. But I'm very I like the way of how not to be so direct in answering the questions on how to see if you have a buyer or not. I think that's very helpful because a lot of people, when you go straight ahead and ask them, "Oh, do you have an agent?" right away, they're gonna kind of either push away or kind of push back. But when you kind of wheel them in, I think that's kind of like that's very good as to
Yeah.
getting clients, getting leads.
Exactly right. The key to a great question is the answer can't be yes or no.
Yeah.
Right. And that's true in everything in life, right? Is that if you can ask a question that's more open-ended, you're going to build that relationship stronger. Right? Just think about when y'all started dating. Right? You had to ask those open-ended questions to really figure out what the other person was about. Sandy, you also went off mute.
Yes, I just have been taking notes. I mean, I just recently got my license as well, so it's all new to me. And, you know, taking the test was all the legal side of it. So this is a lot of information to take in, and I'm excited to move forward with it all.
Awesome. And you guys all know that this is being recorded. I hope, yes. Thank goodness I turned the recording on. And you can access these through the YouTube channel. So all of your productivity coaches or your office MCAs know how to get to the YouTube channel. So you can come back and rewatch this. Okay. And it wouldn't hurt if open houses is something you're like going, wow, this could be really a great way to build my business because I don't know a lot of people, right? This is a great way. Go back and watch the one that was from the other Ignite because that was taught by Nikki and Amanda. And so see the differences between they teach how open houses work and what I teach, right? You're going to find a lot of similarities, but you're also going to find some differences. And we all do it at a very high level. So do use those as well. So awesome. All right. So now let's see if I can share my screen correctly because, you know, evidently, all right. Is this looking correct or can you see my notes?
We just see the main screen, not the notes.
Perfect. Thanks, Taylor. I guess evidently Charles said I had it wrong the first time. So anyway, be friendly, be upbeat. Is it okay to sit at the dining room table and write your notes or be sitting down when there's nobody there? Of course. But the minute somebody walks in the door, butts off the seats, right? Don't be the agent watching the football game in the other room. Okay. All right. Capturing the information. We've talked a lot about some of this already, which is what happens when Margaret teaches. But have a sign-in sheet or use a feedback form. Use a QR code that goes to a Google Doc. I don't care what you use something, right? You can do a customized landing page in Command if you wanted to that can capture the leads. You can offer the KW app. Ask as part of that, ask lots of probing questions, right? Use Ford. And what does Ford stand for?
Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams.
Yes. Also known as what, who, what, where, when. I don't like why questions. I think why tends to put people on their defense, right? If I said to you, so Ari, why did you do that? You're immediately going to think I'm telling you you did something wrong, right? Now, you can ask a why question in an open house environment that is open-ended and is not defensive. So if they say, yeah, we want to move to Arvada because we really want our kids to go to A West. Fantastic. Why is A West important to you? What makes A West important to you? Why are you moving to Arvada? Well, I work for Ball Aerospace, right? Like you can ask some why questions. You just have to be very careful how you phrase them so they don't come off in a way that's interrogating them, that puts them on the defense. Why is that important to you is a good one. Or what about that makes that important to you? What about A West is important to you? What about moving to Arvada is important to you? What is important about living at the top of the mountain with no power or water? Why would you want to do that, right? Like, that would be my question, but you just want to do that, right? And then remember, you're there to get leads and appointments. Okay. If you do these 5 things and you do them well, you guys are going to have an amazing business built on open houses. Okay. So practice these scripts, practice these habits, and you will have an amazing, amazing career.
Margaret,
Yes,
sorry to interrupt you. May I ask you a question?
of course.
Okay, so where I live, I'm up here kind of out in Blackhawk. And so I have a lot of open houses through other offices. I've been noticing quite a few more in Coal Creek and in this area. So is it appropriate to call like Remax, or how would I go about that if I wanted to host up here? And without, I guess I'm just wondering, how do I go about that? Do I call the office and just say, hey, does anyone want me to, I'm an agent with another office down in town, and would you like me to host your open house for you?
I would do a search in the MLS for the
Okay.
area that you want to host the open house in. And then I would look to see who the listing agents are. So I'd look at the houses in the MLS, right? Is it even a house you want to do an open on? Right? Because the advantage of doing it that way is that you can kind of go, wait a minute, this is way up in the boonies. That's going to be too hard to sign, skip. Right? So by finding them in the MLS, you actually have the opportunity to kind of prejudge them. Then you just call up the listing agent and you say, hey, Sandy, my name is Ari. I work for Keller Williams, and I do live up here in Blackhawk. And I noticed that you have a listing at 123 Main Street. And I was curious, would your seller and you be interested in having me host an open house for them this weekend or the following weekend? That's my script. Now, the trick for you up there is you better have a really good partner that's willing to be up there with you, because I don't want you in those houses alone.
Okay.
Okay, Taylor.
Okay, I have kind of a weird question for you, but just kind of want to know your thoughts. So I have an open house attendee from a couple months ago and said that he was moving, and they started out super responsive and then they're not. I have been watching just like their portal views because I have them set up on auto emails. So what would you recommend if they have kind of started going a little bit silent, but I see that they're looking at the emails? Like, do you ever pull people off, or like, what would you recommend of next steps in that scenario?
So I'm going to ask you a question just for the benefit of all. How much does RE Colorado charge you to set people up on housing searches?
I believe 0.
Nothing. So it costs you nothing, costs me nothing to put people on automatic emails with searches of homes. Every time they open that email, whose name do they see?
Okay, this is true. Yes, mine.
Okay, so yours. So am I going to shut them off? No. As a matter of fact, true story, I met this guy down in Roxborough, okay, long time ago. Put him up on a search. He didn't give me a working phone number. The only thing I had was an email, no matter how, and I did find out where he lived. I found that in Realist, but didn't have a lot of information. So I just put him on the search. And just like you said, I would see when he was looking at them. And then 3 years later, guess what happened?
Okay, so patience is the thing.
I got a phone call, right? He was a very slow mover, right? The other thing is, if I have that good working email, so you know your email is working well for them, and maybe then they're reading emails, right? They're at least reading those. Maybe I would layer on putting them in command, adding a neighborhood nurture of the neighborhood and maybe the surrounding neighborhoods of where you met them, and have them get the weekly or bi-weekly smart plan of what's happening in the area that they were looking at. because you know that's a good email and you know that they're opening it. If I have a phone number, I'm still going to keep calling them. Okay, so Cody Gibson, who is another great person for those of you that like to go do homework on YouTube, well, just go watch Cody Gibson. Okay, and Cody teaches in his classes of prospecting, he teaches Follow-Up Wednesday. And Follow-Up Wednesday is where you take every lead that you have, right? It can be somebody from an open house, it could be from a sign call, wherever. And you put them on, you know, a follow-up system within your CRM. And so it pops up. Okay. And so it sounds like this. Ring, ring. And I get it. It says, hi, this is Marco. Please leave a message. Hi, Marco. This is Margaret Gate at Keller Williams. We met at the open house at 123 Beach Street a few weeks ago. I just wanted to call and see how you were doing and if you had any other real estate related questions for me. If you do, please feel free to give me a call. My number is 303 blah, 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 blah. If you're good for right now, don't worry. I'll give you a call back in a couple of weeks and we will catch up then. Have a great week. Click. Go into my CRM. Called Marco. Left voicemail. Follow up 2 weeks. Then I put a task to call Marco 2 Wednesdays from now. Now, if I called Marco at 9 a.m. 2 weeks ago, maybe I called Marco at noon. Because maybe Marco works a job that he can't pick up his phone at 9 o'clock. And I told him if he didn't need anything, he didn't need to call me back. So then I call Marco at noon the following Wednesday and I get ring, ring. Hi, this is Marco. Please leave a message. Hey, Marco, it's Margaret again over at Keller Williams. We met at the open house at 123 Beach Street a few weeks ago. I was just circling back to see, you know, how things were going and if there's anything you needed that was real estate related. If you need anything, please give me a call at bop, 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 bop. Don't worry, no need to call me back if you're good. I'll check back in 2 or 3 weeks. Click. Now, we have texting now. I know I got a number for Marco because his voicemail says it's Marco. So maybe that day I might shoot him a quick text. Hey, Marco, it's Margaret from the open house at 123 Beach Street. Just wanted to check in, see if you needed anything real estate related. He might respond to me that way. True story. Not only the guy that I just sent the RE thing to, right? But I got a sign call. I had their information. I went over and did the listing appointment and they went radio silent. I literally made that same voicemail for 8 months, every 2 to 3 weeks. I was on a riverboat cruise in Pittsburgh. And my phone rings. I answered it. 8 months later, they were ready to sell their house. So my rule, Taylor, is I keep working them until they either tell me to drop dead or I found out they're dead.
Okay, perfect. I was just thinking, I was like, what if I took him off? Like, would he call and be like, hey, where'd they go? You know, because then at least you get a call back and you know they're still looking, but I'm just going to keep doing that.
Yep. Yep. Ari, I don't know if you saw Alfred's chat, but he says he would love to host open houses with you in Blackhawk. Okay, great.
And Ariel, I also sent you a text. I'm out of Keystone and more than happy to do open houses with you.
Look at that. Why can't I find anybody in Greeley? I can cover Blackhawk. All right, I'm trying. Okay, great questions. I love it. Okay, now you've just spent 5 hours at the open house. You have this sign-in sheet. By the way, if you're working with a partner, make sure you figure out how you're going to divide them up. Okay, there are many ways to do it. No, not one is the perfect answer. You can, you get the odd numbers and I'll take the even numbers on the sign-in sheet. Okay. We can take turns as they walk in the house. And then we'll just tag them on the back, which ones you talk to and which ones I talk to. Because it might not fall into the same case because you might have the good luck if you get all the ones that have realtors and they don't make the sign-in sheet. Okay. Or if you have a buddy who you define that you really start to work well together with, my favorite way was this. If the people made a better connection with you than me, you take them. If they made a better connection with me, I'm taking them. And the ones that are left over that really didn't connect with either one of them, we're just going to divide them up. Okay, so Stacy used to say back when we would just do open houses, if anybody walked in wearing Iowa Hawkeye gear, she literally would just go to the other room. Because there was no way that I was going to let anybody who was from the Iowa Hawkeyes not develop some kind of relationship with. Okay, makes sense? Now, if they had a Nebraska shirt on, I probably didn't care and I ran to the other room. No kidding. Okay, but we both always felt good about it. On the same token, even before we were in business together, okay, and this is true as well, I really don't like working first-time home buyers. I hate them. I don't like them. I do them for my daughter's friends, but if somebody walked into an open house and they indicated they were a first-time home buyer, right? I'm there to support my friend, right? We're doing open houses together all the time now. I would say things like, it is your lucky day. Stacy's an expert at first-time home buyers. And then I would take 3 steps backwards because I didn't really care. I didn't want those. Okay. So you're going to find out what each other of you have strengths and weaknesses in and support each other in that. Make sense? There's enough business for the whole world. And every realtor in the world, there's more than enough business for all of us. We just have to want it. And sometimes it's helping each other. So we found the rapport thing worked better because at the end of the day, if I'm working an open house with Mark and they really love Mark and I don't connect to them at all, and we do that, you take the odds and I take the evens, and they're like, "You're who? I didn't talk to you at an open house." I'm never going to get it. Mark calls them up because they talked for 20 minutes about their mutual interest in Russia, and he's got a better shot at getting that client than I do. Why would I not let him take it? And here's what I will tell you. Were there open houses where at times one of us would walk away with a number count more than the other one? Yeah, that's going to happen no matter how you divide it. But I will tell you this, over time, it all balanced out and neither one of us ever walked away from an open house feeling like the other one took advantage of us. Now, it takes a while to find that person that you can have that with, but I'm going to tell you that's the most beautiful way to do an open house. I don't like the every other one because sometimes it just doesn't make sense. That's my tirade. For those of you that do open houses, you're going to figure out your own stuff. You're going to figure out what makes the most sense. Okay? Okay. Whew. You got that list, however you divided it up. So just throw it on your desk and maybe someday they'll call you. You just spent 5 hours of your time. What are you doing? So you got to have a plan. You need a follow-up plan after open houses. First thing you do is you put them in your database, put them in your CRM, put them in command. I sent a handwritten note to every single person who showed up at the open house, unless they were agent escorted or they called out Lisa Couch, right? I'm going to send that, pop that in the mail. My perfect storm is I literally am dropping those cards in the mailbox as I'm driving home from the open house, or they go out on Sunday. Then I'm going to put them on some kind of follow-up plan. There are smart plans. Chris Voorhees can teach you this, all of you. There are smart plans in command that are designated for people who attended open houses. So it puts them on an automatic email campaign or a text campaign or a combination of both that puts it on automatic pilot. Oh, that's called leverage. And you don't pay. How much do you pay to put a smart plan in place in command? Nothing. Leverage. I'm going to put them a follow-up system. I'm going to call them. If they weren't super hot, and I didn't already call them on Saturday or Sunday, I'm calling them on Monday. Even if they said, I'm just a nosy neighbor. Hey, nosy neighbor Nancy. This is Margaret from Keller Williams. We met at the open house down the street at Jim and Kathy's house. Hope the traffic wasn't too crazy for you over the weekend. I just wanted to check in to see if you had any questions. Because how do I know nosy neighbor Nancy didn't walk away going, they're selling that house for that much money? Maybe it's time. But if I never call nosy neighbor Nancy, will I ever get a bat? I'll never get the phone call from the bullpen. Okay. So what is your follow-up plan, right? And then remember when we started, we set a goal, right? Our goal was to, for some of you, I was going to get contacts. For some of you, it was I was going to get an appointment. For some of you, it was I was going to find a buyer who was ready to go. Did you succeed? And what changes will you make? For those of you that have been around me any length of time, you know I am just as big on reflection as I am moving forward. I think that every project is entitled to reflection. Did I accomplish what I set out to do? What do I wish I would have done differently? This market is allowing us to do open houses again. And I will tell you, in 2015 through 2017, I rocked them. And we stopped doing them because we didn't have to. As listing agents, we were selling our houses, whether we did an open house or not. I gave them all the way to the coaching program. Now we're back doing them again with you guys. I bring you all guys along. Okay. I'm out of the practice, right? So what changes do I need to make next time? Oops, the kit didn't have enough of whatever, right? So always reflect. All right. So we're going to plan for an open house. Okay. So in your participation guide, there's an activity called Plan an Open House. Okay. So what I'm going to do, because I think it's more fun to do these things together, is I'm going to take the 3 of you in the room, and then I'm going to divide the rest of you guys in groups of like 3 or 4 people. And I want you guys to just lay out from your participant guides. I'm hoping somebody in the group has it open on their iPad or print it or something. But I want you guys to plan out an open house. What would you look like? What would it look like? What would you bring? Right? Would you print flyers? Would you not print flyers? Would you door knock? Would you not door knock? Would you do slide broadcast? Like, what would your plan be? So let's see what you do. Sound like fun?
Yay.
Yay! Questions before I throw you into these groups? No? Okay. All right. So now I just need to find. Okay, I want to pause recording, Zoom recording. We're back and we're doing ahas. Okay, so Taylor, great on the pop buys, right? You can use pop buys for clients. You can use them in a multitude of ways when you're farming. One of the things I see people do is they actually will create a pop buy, but they'll make them as a giveaway at the open house. So one of the popular ones at this one pop buy Facebook group is you take a thing of microwave popcorn and you just put a tag on it that says, thanks for popping by our open house. And then you put your information on it, right? I do like small giveaways. Okay, Diane's now clapping. Man, do I wish she was in the room. But you can give away things, right? Land Title has postcards, and you can, to just print them and have a bunch of them branded to you is pretty inexpensive, right? So maybe you spend $50. I don't know. You set your budget and work with Andrea Kwame on that, but like Broncos cards, right? The schedules, people like the sports schedules. By the way, this year, Land Title has the Avalanche schedule. First time ever I've seen them ever produce an Avalanche schedule. Well, you know, we all are going to win the Stanley Cup again. So people are going to want to know when the games are. So what if you have those there at your open houses at your table, and people pick up the sporting schedule? And where does sports schedules typically go? On the refrigerator. Whose picture's on the card? Yours. Whose phone number's on the card?
Yours.
How many times do they go to the refrigerator a day? How many times do they go look at the Broncos schedule and write in that we won barely?
Yeah.
Right? So think about those types of things that you can use that are super inexpensive, right? I don't want you guys going out and spending a lot of money. As your businesses grow, you will have branded pens and you'll have swag bags and you'll have all of this stuff, but you don't need it. But these are some little, I almost said tricks, but I caught myself, best practices that you can incorporate even today. And as time allows it, right? My goal isn't just to teach you what to do today, but help you think bigger as you grow. Okay. Love it. All right. I want one more aha from somebody who I haven't heard from recently. Mark.
I really liked how you were the strategy of asking questions, trying not to do kind of put them on the defensive why questions, trying to formulate questions that don't have yes, no answers so that they'll elaborate. And hopefully you can make a better connection with the person.
Yep. Yep. And the add on to that is ask 3 more questions. Right? You ask the initial question and then based on their answer, you dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper, dig a little deeper. Right? Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. All right. So what have we done today? Right? So we talked about some best practices with open houses. We talked about the importance of setting that goal. We talked about the importance of preparing and practicing for that. We talked about preparing stats so that you can talk knowledgeably, right? Because people come into open house for information. You can't be the, right? Then we talked about why open houses are beneficial to our business, right? They are inexpensive, right? They're a great prospecting tool. It puts you in front of people who are looking to buy and sell homes, even if they don't know it yet. And you get to qualify the leads and you get to decide which ones you're going to follow up on and which ones you aren't. Just don't be too picky when you're doing that. Okay. And then we talked about how to prepare. We talked about how to do some prospecting to maximize the number of people that you can get to your open house. And then we talked about the follow-up or the pursuing them after the fact. Because here's the thing, you guys, if you're not going to do anything after you do the open house, don't do them. If you're just going to go to the open house and hope somebody walks in and says, oh my God, I want this house, let me write a check today, then don't waste your time. And I'm just being really honest with you, right? Not that that doesn't happen, but it's an awful lot of work for something that is random. Okay. All right. So I love it. So I'm curious. This one always has my curiosity. Do we have anybody in here who has an April birthday? I knew I wasn't the only one. So as you've been here, you've been to every session, right?
Just one.
You missed once. You've been to most of them. That's a good. How's your thinking changed because of Ignite?
I just feel like I can do it. Like I can,
Big one.
Yeah, like because before I was like, oh, I'm just like too nervous to do it. Like I won't be able to talk to people. Right now, I feel like I can actually do it, and I feel like better about it. So, yeah.
I love that. Yay! Congratulations. High five. Round of applause from everybody. So fantastic. All right. Who has a birthday in September? So you all know my trick now. So even if it was, you're like, I don't go to tell her. Okay. Does anybody want to share how your behaviors have changed? Oh, there's one. Taylor, go.
I would say just doing something. I feel like I started off so plan heavy, and if you do that and you are a perfectionist like me, you're gonna do nothing. So just start doing something.
That is so true, right? Well, here's the thing. Any of you dancers, did anybody grow up being a dancer? Anybody? Okay, Diane says yes. Taylor says yes. Okay, so, and I know a little bit about dance, not because I was a dancer, but my daughter was. She was a competitive dancer. And she would go out and she would dance solos. Okay, so when you're dancing a solo on the stage in front of a bunch of judges and an audience, and you mess up, you do something wrong, as long as you don't stop, who knows you made a mistake? You, your choreographer, your dance instructor, and maybe your parents. The rest of the audience has no clue. You guys, this is no different, right? If you go out and you go do an open house and your questions aren't spot on, or maybe you find yourself falling into the easy trap of just saying, do you have an agent? Okay, so what? You went out and you did the open house and you just learned that next time I need to practice this a little bit better so that I don't forget my choreography or I don't forget my lines, right? Whether it's door knocking, the first time you knock on the door, here's what you all are going to do. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera around. See, maybe we'll see. Maybe I won't turn the camera on. I am going to turn the camera on because I want you to see me do this. Okay, hold on. Here you are. So the first time you go door knocking, it's going to be like this. Please don't answer. 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 Okay, they're not answering. And I hang my thing and I run away. And the second door you knock on, it's going to be, please don't answer. Please don't answer. Please don't answer. Please don't answer. Whew. Okay. Then you're going to have somebody answer and you're going to have a fairly decent conversation. And you're going to go, oh, that wasn't so bad. And you're going to go to the next door and you're going to go, okay, I'll leave my flyer. You're going to go to the next house and you're going to leave your flyer. You're no longer praying that they don't answer the door. And then you're going to get to the point, I know you're in there, answer the door. I want to talk to you. Okay, because you're out there doing it, right? You're out there working. The whole point of being out there is to talk to people. So if you're standing there doing, please don't answer, please don't answer, please don't answer, you're not talking to anybody. You're littering the neighborhood with flyers, which is better than doing nothing. And I was the please don't answer girl. I really was. And now I love door knocking. It's my favorite thing. One of my favorite things. So I'm going to turn the camera around because you really don't need to see me. These people are much more attractive to look at. Okay. So hopefully you have walked away with some tools and some models and some systems that you can incorporate into your business. Today, we talked about open houses. Right? So this is specific about open houses today, but tomorrow you're going to learn some things about social media. So hopefully every day you are getting more and more systems and things to build into your business. And as you implement those systems, right? Amanda and Nikki, it takes them no time to grab the cart. Right? The first time you do an open house, you're going to be like, where's my business cards? Oh, wait, I need those Bronco flyers. Oh man, I got to stop at Office Depot and pick up my other flyers. Like, you're going to feel very unprepared. Okay. So let me do this. Probably most ladies are going to answer this, but let's see what happens. The first time you get a new haircut, a new style, how long does it take you to make it look like it did when the stylist did it, or even get close?
It never looks the same again.
It never looks the same, but you get close, right? But the first time you try it, doesn't it take forever? Like, you got to hold the flat iron just right, or the brush or the blow dryer. And I know some of you guys are going, Margaret, I don't relate to this, and I'm okay with that, right? But you all got women in your lives, right? And it takes us forever. Okay. But after you've had that new hairstyle for a week, are you faster? And now today you've had this same hairstyle for 2 months. You can do it in your sleep and you're done in 2 minutes. Right? I always laugh when I go stay at a hotel. It takes me twice as long to get ready in a hotel. Does anybody else have that problem? Does it take longer to get ready when you're staying in a hotel than in your own home? No? Is that a Margaret problem? And that's okay if it is. I will own it, but my stuff isn't where it's supposed to be. Their hairdryer doesn't work like my hairdryer. Right? Wait a minute. I don't know how to use this iron. This is completely different than the one that I never use at home. Right? It takes longer because it's something new. It's out of your routine. When you get it into a routine, it is going to be easy. All right. So our daily success system. How are you guys doing? Let's have a candid conversation. And by the way, I'm killing the recording now. For all of you that have learned about open houses today on the YouTube channel, we hope we taught you a lot. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My name is Margaret Gade, and you can find me in Keller Williams Avenues. And I am stopping the recording.